Close the doors of your mind from all carnal will, all carnal thought, all emotions, all desires, all fears, all laziness, all doubt, within your stomach, within your neck, and your lower back, and all stubbornness, and hatred, and jealousy, and envy, and strife, and complaining, and pride, and arrogance, and forward mouth, and sepulchre mouth, that you won't speak nothing evil of something you don't understand. For today is a day of freedom. Today is a day of warning. Today is the day that Yahuwah has given to us as a day to remember what it's like to do and to walk and to love and show compassion for 6 days, and to love our neighbor as we love ourselves for 6 days. And the seventh, you continue to love your neighbor as you love yourself. But to Shabbat. For today, we remember the actual knowledge and understanding of Enoch with the author has been given us from the beginning, but also not only naturally, but in our inner man, in our spiritual body. For today, we acknowledge the one who made all of the Nahar of the earth, all the mountains and streams and rivers, whether in the highest Shamayim, where Yahuwah speaks and his debar comes out like rain and snow and waters the earth, whether it be on the earth where animals and creatures drink from a river that flows, whether it be under the earth, whether it flows in rivers and the wells exist, and the spring water, that we may drink and be nourished. For he said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. And that's not outwardly, but that's within. That comes from your inner man and your inner body and your inner thoughts and your inner well that comes from within. And it pours out of your mouth. So this Yom, as we move forward, we'll move forward in love, Achad. For as we move forward in the fear of Yahuwah, and not in the fear of man, the children of Adam. All right, so this is Ode Shaloma, or say Odes of Shaloma, 34:1. It says, there is no hard way where there is a simple heart, and no barrier for upright thoughts. Right, so we look at all the barriers of the world, all the dams where all the water is now dammed off, and all the deserts appear, and ain't no vegetation growing. Look at control. They say ain't no barriers with upright thoughts. So if your thoughts are upright, all your veins and all the blood that flows through your body is flowing evenly. So just like we talked about, you're covered in the blood of Mashiach on the doorpost and in your body. So therefore, if you're covered in the blood in your body, you got no barriers within. Which means if you got no barriers within, that means the blood is flowing evenly throughout the body, and Satan has no way to get in your body. Right, so we look at a simple heart. People saying, "Oh, you're simple." No, we're not talking about a simple heart to commit sin. We're talking about a simple heart to believe the simplicity of Yahushua Mashiach. Right, verse 2 says, "No whirlwind in the depth." It says there is no barrier for upright thoughts, nor whirlwind in the depth of the enlightened thoughts. So you look at your enlightened consciousness, your makashba, your yetzer, your imagination. He says no whirlwind is going to dwell in your mind or in your life. So you won't be tossed to and fro by the winds, by every word of doctrine and every single word that you hear. You will understand it because your whole body is filled with the dam of Yahuwah. And when you're talking about no dam to clog up your arteries or to clog up some rivers. All these are a part of this world created by these Elohims, these gods, these princes, these rulers. Right? But it says 3 says, where one is surrounded entirely by pleasing country. But he says, verse 2 says, no whirlwind in the depths of the enlightened thought, where one is surrounded entirely by pleasing country, there is nothing divided in him. So we look at Yahuwah. David said, Yahuwah is my shepherd. He is my guide, my ra'ah, the person that allows me to see everything. And he guides me to pleasing country. And I have no lack. He maketh me lie down in green pastures and lead me beside the still waters, the rivers and streams and the lakes. And he restoreth my soul. We're talking about a lake between the mountains, where all the crane birds come. In between the mountains where the alkaline water flows down into the lake. And it's clear, blue, you can see all the way to the bottom. There is nothing divided in him. Verse 4 says, the likeness of that which is below is that which is above. So we look at it as above, so below. As in Shamayim, the highest Shamayim, so here on the Arats. And even also as in the Rakia, so here on the earth. You want to be careful about the Rakia on the earth. But it says, for everything that is far from above, everything is from above and from below. It says, verse 4 says, the likeness of that which is below is that which is above. Verse 5 says, for everything is from above, and from below there is nothing. So everything that you see is from above. It's all unseen world. All things you can't comprehend. It's all from above. When Yahuwah speaks it, it gives off a certain type of vibrational frequency, and it forms and shapes everything you see, and allows things to come into existence. Or you say form sinews and put on bones, and allows it to come to life. Right? But it says right here, verse 5 says, for everything is from above, and from below there is nothing. So that's why all the gods and all these people on the earth thinking they created all the things on the earth, because of their arrogance and forgetting the one who made it. But it says, but it is considered to be by those in which there is no understanding. Right? So when you don't have no knowledge, wisdom, and understanding within your mind, within your heart, you'll think that everything below made everything above. But it's everything above made everything below. Just like fresh water flows from a cloud and hits the mountains, and it flows into a lake. Because salt water can't bring forth no life. Verse 6 says, Khan has been revealed for your salvation. I say grace, or they say Khan has been revealed for your salvation. Believe, that's Aman, and live, that's Kai, and be saved. And be saved, right? Right, so this Dabarim Hayamim 2 Chronicles 29:3. In the first year, in his reign, in the first month, he opened the doors of the house of Yahuwah and repaired them, and he brought the priests and the Levites, the Kohanim and the Levites, and he assembled them in the square on the east and said, hear me, Louis. He says, now consecrate yourselves and consecrate the house of Yahuwah, the Elohim of your fathers, and carry out the filth from the Qahalath place. So you look at the filth. Let's say, what type of filth we talking about? Right, we're in a time where we got to keep the leaven out of our house, the leaven out of our body. He said, clean the filth out of Qahalath place. For our fathers have been unfaithful and have done what is evil and raw in the sight of Yahuwah Elohim. They have forsaken him and turned away their faces from the habitation of Yahuwah and turned their backs. You ever had somebody turn their back on you? He said, man, you turn your back on me. But guess what? He said they turned their backs to Yahuwah. You're supposed to have your face right on your father. You ain't supposed to forget the face of your father, but you took your back to him. Which means that everybody didn't clean the filth out of their mouth, which means that they turned their backs to Yahuwah. They started worshiping idols, wood, stone, sun, moon, stars, malakit. They started worshiping the things Yahuwah created, the ocean, the rivers, the streams. They started worshiping themselves. He said, man, you got to clean the filth out of Qahalath place. So when he says Qahalath place, it says Kohanim, Levites. Like he says, the priest, right? This is 1 Corinthians 6:19. Or do you not know that your body is the temple of the Qahalath Ruach? Or you mean the Qahalath place? Your body is. Your inner man, your inner being, right? People look at this natural temple, which Yahusha split in two. It's for a reason, because he's trying to show you the temple of his body, your body. And you are that temple. You are that body. And you must keep things from out of that body. Whom you have from Yahuwah. When did Yahuwah give you a body? He gave Adam a body in the beginning on the 6th day of creation. That's when you got a body from Yahuwah. You didn't know that until somebody told you. Because if you came out of your mother's matrix, she ain't know no Torah. And she ain't know nothing that was written in the beginning. And if you never was explained this to you by your parents or anybody, or just anybody in general, guess what happens? You didn't know that Yahuwah gave you a body to dwell inside. Yeah, you live inside of this body. It says you are not your own. So he gave you a body, and you live inside the body that you didn't even make when you was in your mother's womb, but you got put in it. That means you ain't even yours. It means Yahuwah owns you. He been owning people since the beginning, because he formed and shaped the actual auto-generated bodies that are created on the earth. And man's trying to figure out how you form them bones, how you put all that stuff in there and put something in it, and then they come out with a consciousness, and they know and it has all these attributes of another person and two other people. How do you did that? They still trying to figure it out, and they never will figure it out. Not even to this preciseness. They may think they will, but they won't. Whom you have from Yahuwah, you are not your own, for you were bought with a price. You were bought with a price. You were bought with the precious blood of Yahushua Mashiach. He died, rose, and ascended. You were bought with a price. He defeated Goliath. His virgin blood bought you. So kabod Yahuwah in your body, your Qahalath place. You priests, you Levites, you Kahans, He think he's only talking to male. No, he's talking about male and female. Because when he made Adam a body, he made them both male and female. He's talking to both male and female. Kabod Yahuwah in your body. 1 Corinthians 3:17 through 21. If anyone destroys Yahuwah's temple, Yahuwah will destroy him. Right? If you destroy Yahuwah's temple by defiling the Qahalath place and not cleaning the filth out of your house, how is Yahuwah going to destroy you? We just talked about it last night. The other night, the destroyer. The destroyer is going to destroy you. He's going to come into your body and he's going to consume you. He's going to shakath you. He's going to consume your body. He's going to, consume your sin and wasting disease within yourself. That's how he's going to do it. For Yahuwah's temple is Chdsh, and you are that temple. You are that temple. You are that temple. We are that temple of the body. Yahushua Mashiach can't have no leaven in his body. He can't have no certain things in his body. He can't. You don't want to be the things that he secretes from his body. You know, like somebody gets toxins out of their body. You'll be that person coming out of his toxins, or that person coming out of his drought, or that person that's coming out when he does the detox. Because when Yahushua does the detox, you coming out, right? He said, let no one deceive himself. If anyone among you thinks he is wise in his age, let him become a fool that he may become wise. Why? Because you can't ever get lifted up, because you're going to mess around. You're going to be thinking you higher than Yahushua Mashiach and Yahuwah, and then you're going to find yourself in a bad state of mind, and then you're going to be cast down. You're going to be exalting yourself. He's going to cast you to the ground. For the wisdom of this world is folly with Yahuwah. For it is written, he catches the wise in his craftiness, right? So you got wise in his craftiness, because people use the wisdom, the wisdom of this world, they'll use it as a way to draw you away from Yahuwah and his son Yahusha, to get you to worship them. And he said he catches them in their craftiness too, right? And that's key. And again, Yahuwah knows the thoughts of the wise, that they are worthless, futile. So let no one boast in men. Don't boast in men. Don't boast in a human. Don't put him in your son. Don't worship him. Don't even give him any type of accolades. He said, why would you give him that? I don't want it. I don't want that accolade. I don't even want to be, I said, I don't want to be named. He said, I don't even want you to know. Some people want to know. I said, I don't want it. He said, my fame is going to go out. No, some people be crafty with that. And they say, oh, they want their fame to go out. I want people to know me. No, it's because you want to be somebody. And he said, that's going to be your trouble, right? This is Shemuth, Exodus 12, 14 through 20. It says, this day shall be a memorial day. So these people talk about Memorial Day. What do they celebrate in Memorial Day here in the world? Oh, it's a day to commemorate all the men that died. But what are we commemorating? We're commemorating and remembering the man who died for our sins. And it's a Memorial Day, that you shall keep it as a feast to Yahuwah throughout your generations, a statute forever. You shall keep it as a Chag, a feast, 7 days. And ye shall eat unleavened bread on the first day, which is today. You shall remove the leavened sa'ur out of your houses, right? If anyone eats what is leavened or kamatz from the first day until the 7th day, that person shall be cut off from Yasharal. So if you eat any leaven, anything that causes things to rise, you're going to be cut off from Yasharal. And you can't do it from the first day to the 7th day. Where do you learn that from? From the beginning. From Bereshith, from the beginning. It's all, he's talking about the beginning. He's trying to teach people how to keep leaven out of their house for 7 days. That's all he's trying to show you. It's a disciplinary, it's a discipline that we must learn to do every single week. It's not just for a Chag, a Mu'ah. It's something you got to do every week. He's telling you, keep it as a feast, a Chag. It says, on the first day you shall hold a Qahalath assembly, and on the 7th day a Qahalath assembly. Why? Because on the first day of creation, what did you see? Right, we're going to talk about it. And it says a Qahalath assembly, right? Or they say a Qahalath assembly, right? Like they say. No work shall be done on those days, but what everyone needs to eat. So this ain't no 7-day fast. It's everyone what you need to eat, right? It's whatever you need to eat it. But then what did he say? He said, you shall eat unleavened bread. Why is he telling us to eat that? He said, what you need to eat? You can't eat nothing leavened, which means your choices have now been shrunk down. It's like somebody going to a personal trainer, and they tell you, what do you eat? I eat Twinkies, I eat all these different sweets, I eat all these different things that are unhealthy. I go to McDonald's 5 days, 6 days a week. I do all these. Say, okay, this is what we're gonna do. For 7 days, you just want to eat unleavened. You telling me I can't eat no bread that rises. I can't eat this. I can't eat that. I can't eat fermentation. I can't eat my favorite cookies. I can't eat this and that. Now I've just brought you to a place of I can either complain, mumble and grumble, or I just do it. Because I just shrunk all your meat, all your food down to only a certain amount of choices. He's like, what you got in the cafeteria? That's it. Or the cafe, and they say in French, right? What do you got in there? I only got this, this, and this. Why? Because everything else is leavened. It's like, man, you start complaining. And that's what we want to avoid, because that's leaven. Right? It says, on the first day you shall have a Qahalath assembly, and the seventh day Qahalath assembly, and no work shall be done, but what everyone should eat, that alone may be prepared. And you shall observe the Chag of unleavened bread, for on this very day I brought your host out of the land of Mitzrayim. I brought you out of the land of Ham. I brought you out from the teachings of Ham and Nimrod and Cain. I brought you out of the teachings of those that are fallen. I brought you out of their teachings. That's what he did. Therefore you shall observe this day throughout your generations as a statute forever. So he brought us out of his teachings, so that means he shrunk us down to a certain type of teaching, which means a certain type of food you only can eat. You can't eat everything. He shrunk it down, and that produces complaining. Verse 18, in the first month, in the 14th day of the month, at evening, Areb, you shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month. At evening. For 7 days, no leaven, sa'ur, is to be found in your houses. We just talked about cleaning out the filth out of your Qahalath place. It shouldn't be found there. If anyone eats what is leavened or kamatz, that person shall be cut off from the congregation of Yasharal, whether it's a sojourner or a native in the land. It doesn't matter who you are. He said he's going to purge you out. You shall eat nothing leavened in all your dwelling places. Or Matsah. He said, in all your dwelling places, you shall eat unleavened bread, right? So that's the commandment, right? So when that word for Chag or feast is Chag. It means you hold a feast, hold a festival. It says dance. You shall dance. He said you should dance, celebrate. He said, and it also means move in a circle. Move in a circle, procession, celebrate a dance, keep, hold, reel to and fro. Isn't that what he told Cain when he cast him out of the garden? We talked about it. Garage. He cast him out. He told him you're going to be a nude. He said you're going to reel to and fro. You're going to be a wanderer. You're going to reel to and fro. He said move in procession in a circle. Why? Because I have driven you out of the land of Mizraim. I garaged you out of the land of Mizraim, just like I garaged Cain out of my presence, and Adam, I garaged him out. But I never told him. I told him what to eat too when I told him to leave. Isn't that what he told him to do here? He told him, I told you, I never spake to you concerning animal sacrifices for sin and eating flesh. I only told you to eat unleavened bread. I told you to eat unleavened bread and the cakes and do all these things when I left. I didn't tell you to do all these other things that y'all doing. Why? Because all of those other things, I didn't tell Adam and I didn't tell Cain when I did the same thing. He said, reel to and fro, move in a circle, in procession, right? He says what? You shall remove the leaven out of your houses. That word for remove is Shabbat. What is it? What is the first day we're doing today? The first day you need the Shabbat. But that word for remove is Shabbat. You shall cease, to put to an end, to cause to desist, leaven out of your life, sa'ur. That word leaven, to remove, we're removing it. We're Shabbathing. We're ceasing from leaven. We're ceasing. You shall celebrate it. Shabbat. We're celebrating no more leaven in our houses, no more sin in our life. We're celebrating it. You're dancing in the circle, you're in procession. He said, celebrate it. He said, remove or Shabbat sa'ur. That's leaven. He said, we're celebrating no more leaven in our houses, in our he said, balm or yeast cakes. In a swelling. He said swelling by fermentation, leaven. He said we're celebrating it. Why are we celebrating something we're leaving out of a place, out of a certain mindset teachings, and then we're moving into another type of teaching? And he's saying, celebrate, Shabbat, cease, And that's what we're doing today. And then stop the loving. Cease from loving. Right? And we're supposed to celebrate it. But it said fermentation. Right? Fermentation. Right? Cease from the leaven. Right? And it says clean all. It says clean all. It says no leaven shall be found in you. Remove the leaven from your houses. Because we know the house is our body. We just talked about your body is the temple of Yahuwah. No leaven shall be found inside of you. It says abode of light and darkness. So inside of your body, your house can be light and darkness. You can turn the light switch on, and you can turn the light switch off. Right? They used to have this thing, man. They said they had this saying when I played sports. He said, man, he's so fast, he'll be under the covers before the room goes dark. He hit the light switch and be under the covers before the room goes dark, right? He said, you be inside of your body, you can be light and darkness in your house, descendants of as an organized body. It says a house. Right? You look at your body as that vessel, that house, a court, right? A court, right? The temple of the house. This is what you're talking about. When we're talking about judgment, we're talking about our house, right? But he said, get it out of your house. But he said, you shall eat unleavened bread. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. But that's without leaven. You're supposed to celebrate it. You're supposed to shout it greedily. He said, what? He said, man, you need to change your eating habits. Because when you start eating unleavened bread greedily, what happens? Sweetness. You ever seen a child? You be like, man, where all that food go? And the child be eating all the food, and you be like, man, how you eat all that food that fast? Where did it all go? He said, and he ate it really fast, in haste too. But he said greedily. Why? Because now you're changing your eating habits, you're changing your taste buds, you're changing how you look at things now. It says it's sweetness, because it has to have a little sweetness to it. It says not soured, right? That's leaven. Or bitter. It's going to taste like leaven. Why? Because it's going to be sour tasting. Why? What's going to happen after that? Then it's going to be sin. It's going to be sin. And just like how sin can be soured inside of us, and we could be bitter within, we could be sour within, or whether we mistreated, or what was happened to us, that's what's going to happen. It says unfermented cake or loaf, right? Unfermented. And you're going to see too, right? It says no leaven. He says, for anyone eats what is leavened, or kamatz, that word in that verse 15 is kamatz, eats what's fermented, leaven, that things that cause things to rise. He said that from the first day unto the seventh day, he's teaching us what not to eat, what not to consume from the first day to the seventh day. That person should be cut off, or Yahusha's going to do it, right? He says ferment, right? It says the ferment means agitation or excitement among a group of people, typically concerning major change and leading to trouble or violence. So we're talking about things that can lead you to a mindset to cause violence, not only violence in yourself, but also violence to others. Right? So if you're not walking in love and compassion, then guess what? You're not walking in a way that's going to bring violence to somebody else. And people get excited about that. You notice that? They get excited about hatred, gossip. People pay attention for gossip, slander, hatred, jealousy, envy, strife, finding out who with somebody, finding out somebody got their house raided, doing all these things. People pay attention to that. But when it comes to like things with an inner man, people don't want to invest time. He said that people don't want to pay attention, right? He said people want to turn their stubborn shoulders. People don't want to actually do it. Why? Because it's like blocking. You know how a boxer, what a boxer does, people don't know when you're fighting a fight, a boxer turns his shoulder to the right, and by changing his shoulder to the right, he puts the whole body up so he won't take the blow. Why? Because it actually blocks that person from not taking the blow the way it needs to, right? Because he said, some people need to get punched in the face. He said, yeah, some people get to get punched in the face with the truth. And get their head turned to the right, not to the left, right? But he says, what does it mean if you ferment something, right? Fermentation is a natural process which microorganisms like yeast and bacteria converts carbs such as starch and sugars into alcohol, right? But all these are what? Part of rising agents, right? But it says right here, he says you're going to be cut off. That word for cut off is karaf. He said you're going to be cut off a body part. Just like we talked about with Nimrod, when they said the wise men saw the star flying in the air, the comet, he ate the 4 stars of Orion. They start cutting off his shoulders, his legs, his hands, his feet. He's like, this man, the child that's born is going to destroy all the kings and all the gods. He said, you're going to be cut off, destroying, consumed. Which means if you're going to be cut off, that means he's going to send a demon, Matsah, Satan, to consume you and destroy you. He's going to send Matsah, which means, how you say, Pasach is supposed to still be on you, and in you, and within you. People forget about Pasach after the first day they take it, but not even knowing, you need to still have Pasach in you and on you. You still need the blood on you, and you need to continue to have it on you. Or you forget, and you turn then you turn your stubborn shoulder and you start worshiping the host of the Shamayim, and people be more excited about news stories and news articles, be more excited about people finding out about people what they do in the dark, right? And not even the actual truth that they need in their heart. And people be so filled, and their wine glass be so filled, and their glass be so filled, they don't even empty it out of their mind, right? And it says what? To cut him off, right? So he said, this day shall be a memorial day. It's going to be a reminder, a memorial day. It's a zikrum, a reminder. All we doing is reminding you, remembrance. Like people say, I don't want to remind you. He said, I ain't forget, I know. But he said, I'm just here to remind you. Because after these 6-7 days are over, you got another first day, 7th day, and you're going to have to be reminded again. Why? Because you're going to have another 7 days you're going to have to keep the leaven out of your house. You're going to have another 7 days you're going to have to do it again. And if nobody reminds you, why do you think Paul said, he said, we're supposed to warn each other daily as it becomes day? Because you got to keep doing it. Because I don't like that food anymore. It's the same food every week. I don't want that. It's like the same thing the children of Yasharal did in the wilderness because they didn't want the food anymore because they heard it over and over again. I don't want that food anymore. I want something different. I don't want that. Right? So we got this Olive Kaf. It's a memorial day, right? He says remembrance. This is 2 Peter 3:1. This is now the second letter that I am writing to you. So what is he doing? He's trying to remind people of something. Beloved, in both of them, I am stirring up your sincere mind by way of reminder. So if people don't like to be reminded, I don't want that anymore. I've already heard that again. Verse 2 says that you should remember, that you should remember the predictions of the Qahalath Nabi'im and the commandment of Yahuwah and Yasha through your Shalakim, through Yahuwah and your Savior, through your Shalakim, knowing this first of all that scoffers will come in the last days. These are people who don't believe, scoffing, mockers. These are mockers will come in the last days with scoffing, following their own sinful desires. They're going to do their own sinful desires, whatever they want to do. And they're going to be mocking while they do it. They will say, where's the promise of his coming? Because people get impatient. For ever since the fathers fell asleep, all things continuing as they were from the beginning of creation. Everything you see is still going on. Where's the promise of his coming? For they deliberately overlooked this fact, that the Shamayim existed long ago, and the earth was formed out of water and through water, and by the word of Yahuwah. They forget Psalms 33. They forget Bereshit chapter 1. They forget it. They forget that Yahuwah made the Kug on the surface of the deep. They forget Yeshayahu 40, Yeshayahu 55. They forget Ehud chapter 12, Ehud. They forget it. They forget 2nd Baruch 6. They forget. They forget Enoch chapter 2. Verse 6 says, and that by means of these, the world that then existed was deluged with water and perished. Why? The days of Noah. And that's what we're in today. But by the same word, the Shamayims and the earth now exist are stored up for fire. Just like the earth was stored up for water to wash man with and to cleanse the earth. He got fire stirred up for us, for the earth. And there's nothing you can do to stop it. Being kept until the day of judgment and destruction of the unrighteous. That's what he's going to do. He's going to use fire. He said, that's why you got to clean the filth out of Qahalath's place. All these things you got to clean up. This Romans 5:5-14. For if we have been united with him, this Romans 5:5-14. For if we have been united with him in his death, in a death like his, we shall certainly be united with him in a resurrection like his. So if you died and you were immersed into Yahushua, you were immersed into his death. We know that our old self was crucified with him in order that the body of sin might be brought to nothing, that leaven may be brought to nothing, that you have no leaven in your house anymore, that you will be unleavened. That's why you were crucified with him. If you follow the timeline, if you were following with him, and you followed with him after he was given over, and then that night you was in time of much watching, and you followed him all the way to the cross, and you were crucified with him, and you believed that, and guess what happens? Then you crucified with him. Ain't no leavening gonna be in your house. He says, sin might be brought to nothing, so that you will no longer be enslaved in sin. For one who has died has been set free from sin. Which means if you died to leaven, if it's no longer in your house, you are free from sin. And you should celebrate Chag and move in procession in the circle. Now, if we have died with Mashiach Yahushua, we believe that we will also live with him. We know that Mashiach, being raised from the dead, will die again, will never die again. So people need to think about that. Male and female Zakar Nakabah need to think about that. Mother and father, sister, brother, uncle, doesn't matter who you are. He ain't doing it again. You gotta die. Death no longer has dominion over him. If death don't got no dominion over you, it don't rule you, so you can't die. You're immortal. For the death he died to sin. Or have you died to leaven yet? Have you died to leaven? Right? People saying leaven. Leaven could be pride, hatred. It could be stubbornness. It could just be something simple as. It could be something just simple as walking down the street and not going to the left and the right. But he said, for the death he died to sin once and for all. But the life he lives to Yahuwah. So you also must consider yourselves dead to sin. No leaven in your house. And alive to Yahuwah in Yahushua Mashiach. You're supposed to Chag, you're supposed to celebrate. That's how you're alive, and you're dead to sin. Verse 12 says, let not sin therefore reign in your mortal body, which means remove the leaven out of your houses. No kamats, no sour shall be found in your house. No sour leavening agents, no bitterness in your house, no bitterness in your heart. No sour in your heart should be in there, and it should rule you. People saying, why is it ruling my thoughts? Why is it ruling me? People saying what? Sometimes people saying your leaven didn't come from Yahushua Mashiach. It didn't come from people who believe in Yahuwah. It came from the people you interacted in the world, and that sour and bitterness came from them. That's where it comes from. And you know what people do? They just like Yahushua say, the reproaches in them, they reproach you, Yahuwah, they fell on me because they're going to blame me for all of the people they interacted with before they met me. That's what Yahushua say. He said to make you obey its passions. That's all it does. It's all it's trying to do is make you obey. That's why Satan creeps into the senses. He just wants you to obey its passions. It could be passion just to have hatred for somebody. Passions to have bitterness for somebody. Passions to have resentment, jealousy, envy, strife. I want to be the man. I'm the woman. I'm the person that need to be leading. I'm the person that I'm the greatest, right? It becomes that type of ambitions. It's a passion. Be like, man, look at my passion. I'm speaking, I'm talking. I'm like, yeah, that's your passion. But your passion, he said, is of Satan. Verse 13 says, do not present your members to sin as instruments of unrighteousness, but present yourselves to Yahuwah as those who have been brought from death to life. I've been brought from death, like state, that's the wages of sin, but the gift of eternal life is Yahushua Mashiach. And your members to Yahuwah as instruments of righteousness, just like a sound vibrational frequency on a computer, on an instrument, even on a sound when you speak, when you sing, and what you do with your hands and your feet. An instrument. Or is it 10 string, a 12 string, 6 string, right? Whether it's all the way even just a 1 string, even just your mouth, all the way to a 7 string. Right? All this is part of it. Verse 14 says, for sin will have no dominion over you if you use your body for instrument of righteousness. Sin ain't gonna rule your body. It ain't gonna rule you. It shouldn't reign. No leaven gonna be in your house. Since you are not under the law, people think, oh, I'm not under the law. No, you're not under the penalty of the law because you don't break it. If I don't want to go to jail for murder, if I don't want to go to jail for a speeding ticket, I ain't gonna speed. So that means I ain't got no leaven in my house. If I don't want to go to get plagued in my life for committing adultery with another man's wife, then guess what happens? Then I'm not under the law, the penalty of that. If I'm a woman and you see my husband getting beat, then I don't grab his privy parts to get her off my husband, but I use all other means. If I don't do that, then I'm not under the penalty of that. If I eat all plants and herb yielding seed, and I don't eat no meat and destroy no animals and creatures and fill my mind with cruelty, then I'm not under the penalty of the people who did that during the flood. He said, but you are under con, right? You see, you're not under the law, but under grace. Con, that's what it is. We're under another chance. So you think about that. So we think about all that. Think about Cain, Adam, the children of Yasharah, the 12 sons, and the children of Adam today. He said, therefore let no sin reign in your body, but you're not under the penalty of death. What happened to Cain when he killed his brother? He committed murder. He killed an innocent man, his brother, and shed innocent blood on the earth, and Yahuwah judged him. He said, where is your brother? Just like a judge would say, where is the body? He said, am I my brother's keeper? And he said, what? He punished him. He said, my sin is more than I can bear. And then he said, I know. He said, everybody who see me gonna kill me if they see me. But he said to Cain, he said, I'm gonna put a mark in your forehead that everybody who see you will not kill you. And that is called grace. Come. It's just like a pedophile. It's like, in the world, if somebody do something and they say, oh, he put you on this list. And they let you go out free. But they won't do that to a murderer today. A man who killed a person in innocent blood and he killed an innocent person, Yahuwah let the man go free. And he gave him a mark in his head and he gave him compassion and mercy and let him go on and go free. And then he let him go dwell wherever he wanted. But he put a mark on him, and that mark was compassion and mercy and grace. And he did that for Cain when he garroshed him out of the garden. And man can't even do that today. Men and women can't even forgive nobody today. And they ain't even commit no murder. He did this, she did this to me. You can't even forgive. He did this to me. Oh, he ain't even kill you. He ain't do nothing to you. But you see, Yahuwah got a lot more mercy and compassion than we do. He got a lot more mercy and compassion than we do. He even forgave a murderer. He forgave a murderer. Can you imagine a man killing your only child, your only son? And then guess what happens? Yahuwah say, and then guess what he does? He forgive the person who killed him. And what you gonna be like? No, he needs to die like my son. And you be like, nah, that's what you should do. You should die for killing my son too. But I forgave you too. I forgave you. Right, this is Qahalath, Ecclesiastes 10, 1-2. Dead flies make the perfume as ointments give off a stench. So a little folly outweighs wisdom and honor. So you look at all the little folly that we got in our lives. That's a little leaven. He said it outweighs wisdom and honor. That's how heavy a little leaven is. He said, man, how do you mean? Just a little tiny bit of leaven? He said, yeah, a little bit of unright, a little bit of bitterness, a little bit of hatred, a little bit of strife, a little bit of stubbornness, a little bit of lying, a little bit of complaining, a little bit of mumbling, a little bit of complaining, a little bit of murmuring, a little bit of greed, a little bit of lust, lustful passions, right? All these things can destroy you. A little bit of arrogance and pride, a little bit of joking and crude joking, all that stuff can destroy you. It outweighs it. It's heavy. It says a wise man's heart inclines himself to the right. Why? Because when you get hit across the head with the truth, it knock your head to the right. It knock you to the right. But a fool's heart to the left. Gonna take you to the left. People say, why are you talking about give you when somebody take your cloak? He said, smack you in the face, give him your cheek. He said, give him your other cheek also. He said, man, bow, bow. Knock your head left and right. you be a right, and then you be a fool, all at the same time, right? But it say right here, this Qahalath, he says that word for dead flies make it perfume his ointment, give off a stench, right? That word for stench is ba'ash. It means to have a bad smell. So you talk about giving an offering to Yahuwah as a sweet smelling savor, and you got a little folly. You got a little folly in your heart, a little leaven in your heart. He said it stink. It's a bad smell, stink, to make oneself odious, smell bad. You know how people smell bad? People say, man, you smell like dead flesh, you stink. Right, because people say you ain't got no smell to you. Your behaviors, your folly is making you stink. People think I got all this folly on me. That's why you see in the world. People got all this folly, all this bad all these things they do in life, all this wickedness, and then they go to the store and buy a $200 perfume. Get some product, get some Carolina Herrera, right? They get some frankincense and myrrh, they rub it on their skin, and they be like, man, look at that, my sweet smelling savor. But he said, you got that little folly in your heart. He said, what is that? Because Yahuwah can smell it. He said, you stink to make oneself odious, offensively morally, have a bad smell, an abomination, right? So he said, so a little folly. That word for little folly is ma'at. It says littleness, few, a little, a very few. Like people say, I only got a few things I do wrong, a few things I have, a small matter. You know how they talk about Satan turning small things great, the spirit of hatred? He said, man, you got a small matter you can't even resolve. And guess what? That small matter turns into something big, and now you stink. And this is what people do today. Whether people believe on Yahushua or they another place, another religion or whatever, people do that today. They say it's so small. I only yelled one time. They turn that thing, it go into a whole 20-year hiatus. Oh, he yelled at me one time. Yahuwah forgave Cain for murder. Put a mark on his head and gave him mercy and compassion. You can't even forgive for one little thing. He's like, man, that's what he did. You think about us. Think about us as just human beings. Think about us. Because if we're our only son, and they killed somebody, you would want Yahuwah to forgive him. You would want the judge to have mercy on him and not throw him in the court, throw him in jail for life, so you can see your son every single day. So you got to go to a jail cell behind bars. You would want that. Think about the type of people we are. Right? So it says right here, it says what? He says a little folly. So a little bit of folly. So we talked about the little ma'ats, and then we see a little folly. That word for folly is sikluth. Sikluth. It means foolishness. He said a little foolishness, a little silliness. Silly. Oh, you're silly, rabbit. Tricks are for kids, right? A little silliness, folly, foolishness. Because we know that silly, that word for silly, it go with astel, and also go with nirgan, right? And niggards, right? These are all part of what? Pride. And stupid people, fools, silliness. You know how people like crude joking? They love that little crude joking. They like cracking jokes, and they be thinking like, man, Yahuwah love my sweet smelling savor. They go on YouTube and do it. Man, you look at my skit. Look what I do. I love to play around. He said, like children in the marketplace. But he said that's a stink in his nostrils. And people wonder why Shaul say, put away crude joking and arrogance. He said it's a stink. You have little leaven in your heart. He said a little bit of leaven's the whole lump. Galatians 5:7. You were running well. Who didn't hinder you from obeying the truth? He said, man, people running. This persuade, because the name of Yahuwah is a strong tower. The righteous run into it and are safe, right? But he said, this persuasion comes not from the one who calls you. A little leaven's the whole lump. I have confidence in Yadon Yahusha that you will take no other view, and the one who is troubling you will bear the penalty, whoever he is, right? Because he or she or child. Because a lot of the stuff that people do, they shouldn't do. And he said, you're going to bear the penalty. Because you know what we have supposed to have come from, we are not under the law. We're not supposed to get the penalty of doing it. We are under grace. But if we do the penalty, we done did something that's a penalty to. You know how you get a penalty in sports? They get a penalty in football or in basketball or in tennis. You even get a penalty for being late in class, or you even get a penalty for just being, not paying your financial aid on time, or your insurance payments. You get an interest rate. He says it's a penalty. Hebrews 12:1. Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin that so easily we possess. He said, cling so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us. So just like we talked about in Qahalath. He said, a little folly outweighs, it's heavy. It is sin, it is weight on you. It becomes weight. People say, man, I'm overweight. Exactly. Some people are like, he said, man, you're not even that big, but he said, you overweight in sin, though. You overweight in that. Because you got little follies. He says, looking to you, get what he says, before us. And let us run the endurance race that is set before us. Why? Because you got a lot of weight, so you ain't going to be able to run. Get to Yahuwah, man, I ain't running that far. That's too far. Go all the way up that mountain. You see how high it is? Man, you crazy. You start complaining. Why? Because you ain't eating the things you're supposed to eat. Why? Because you got leaven. You're eating leaven, and you're not supposed to be eating leaven. You're supposed to be eating unleavened bread, so you can get up the mountain, so you can get on the journey. That's why you have you eating unleavened bread. Fermentation, when you eat that, it does not allow you to run. Fermentation don't allow you to run the race. It's going to rise up in your stomach and make you sloggy, make you tired, make you not want to do anything. That's all it does. That's why he said a little leaven is the whole lump. Looking to Yahushua, the founder and perfecter of our Amunah, who for joy, some Chag that we set before us, he endured the cross, despising shame, and he is seated at the right hand of the throne of Yahuwah. How he was able to endure the cross? Because he wasn't eating any leaven. He didn't have any sin. He didn't have any weights. You think about it. They trying to lift up a person who fought 500 pounds on the totality. You ain't gonna be able to lift that man up there. You're gonna need about 10, 15 people to lift that little fat person up there. Ain't no way you can get that person up on totality. Verse 3 says, consider him who endured the sinners such hostility against him, so that you may not be weary and faint-hearted if you struggle against sin. He said, if you struggle against sin, you have not resisted to the point of shedding your blood. We ain't even resist that far. But somebody say, you got to commit sin or I'm going to kill you. You haven't resisted this. You haven't resisted to that. People can't even resist with none of that. We can't even resist on just certain things. And he say these small matters, right? This Matthew 16, 5 through 12. When the disciples reached the other side, they had forgotten to bring any bread. Yahushua said to them, watch and beware of the leaven, or the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. He said, we ain't bring no bread. Because you're supposed to have no leaven in your house, right? He said, we ain't bring no bread. But then he said, watch, beware of the leaven. He's like, man, what are you talking about? They keep unleavened bread more than we did. And they still ain't figured it out. And so we sit here and we barely keep it. And he's like, they still ain't figured it out. He said, watch and beware the leaven and the sahur, the scribes of the Pharisees and the Sadducees, the Parashim and the Zadokим. Verse 7 says, and they began to discussing it among themselves, saying, we brought no lakam. But Yahushua, aware of this, said, O you of little amunah, which means if you have little faith, you have little small matters and little leaven in your heart. He said little amunah, which means you have little leaven in your heart. You got little leaven in your heart. He said, why are you discussing among yourselves the fact that you have no bread? You got little leaven in your heart. Do you not perceive? Because you can't perceive. You know why? Because they got leaven in their heart. Because they got sin in their life. He said, you can't even perceive this? Do you not remember the 5 loaves or the 5,000? You notice he said remember. Oh, you know what he's doing? He's stirring up their pure minds by way of remembrance. He's putting a reminder in their mind. Because this is supposed to be a memorial, a reminder to you. That's what this is, a reminder to you, both male and female. Do you remember the 5 loaves and the 5,000? How many baskets when you gathered? Or the 7 loaves? For the 4,000, how many baskets you gathered? how is it that you fail to understand that I did not speak about bread? He's not speaking about it. Beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. But he said, then they understood after this, after he reminded them of what happened. That's all we're doing. I'm reminding you of what happened during when he came out of Mizraim. Get what he said? That they should understood that he did not tell them to beware of the leaven, the sorrow of the bread. Then they understood that he did not tell them beware of the leaven, sorrow of the bread, but of the teaching of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. The food that they were teaching. The bread is the debar. He said, beware of the debar that they're teaching. The king, the priest, the rulers, the what? The scribes, the Pharisees, the Levites, Louis. Because remember, we just talked about they had to clean the filth out of the Qahalath's place, and they never did it. What type of filth he talking about? So you just think it's just the teachings of the scribes and the Pharisees he told you to beware of? That's the leaven? That ain't the only leaven he was talking about. But you know how religious people think? Yeah, you know. People who just don't know anything, who don't even practice this, yeah, you know, he's just talking about those teachers, those pastors, right? You know how they say. He's talking about these people that's teaching, right? That's what he's talking about. He's just talking about them, right? Right. So this is the EU book of Job 38, 28 through 32. Has rain a father, or who has begotten the drops of the dew? From whose womb did the ice come forth? And who has given birth to the frost of the Shamayim? Who did that? Can you do that? Does rain have a father? The water became hard like stone, and the face of the deep is frozen. Who did that? Can you bind the chains of the Pleiades? Can you bind the chains of the Pleiades, the Kima, or loose the cords of the Quetzil, the Orion? Can you lead forth Matsah in their season? Or can you guide the bears in the Ish with its children, his bun, his ben, his bane? He says, do you know the ordinances of Shamayim? Because you got to know the ordinances of Shamayim. Why? Because he said, beware the leaven of the scribes and the Pharisees. He said, beware the teachings. But it's also some other teachings as well. He said, beware the teachings. What teachings is he talking about? Because people can do a whole bunch of things with these books and this knowledge and understanding that they have. He said, can you bind the chains? That word for chains is ma'adana. Right? It sounds like Madonna. Can you bind the chains of Madonna? Ma'adana. The bonds, the influence of Madonna. Ma'adana. Why? Because it says group or influence. You got singing groups. You got influence groups. You got bonds. Can you bind the influence of them? He said, beware of the leaven of the scribes and the Pharisees. But he said also beware of their teachings. So he said, can you bind the chains of this? Because this is a little leaven. This is the teachings also. This is a little leaven too. Can you bind their influences? These singers who sing about the things that Yahuwah hates. Can you bind those? That's the influence of the Pleiades. That's a little leaven. He said, man, I ain't got no leaven in my heart. Yes, you do. People saying, no, you don't. He said, can you bind the influence of Madonna? He said, can you bind the influence of Madonna? Right? Can you bind the influence of the Pleiades? The Kima? The Kima? The Pleiades, the 7 stars? Can you bind the influences of the 7 stars? He said, Ma'adana, she works with the 7 stars. What do you mean all this stuff you're talking about? Yeah, because these are all leaven. This is a little leaven. These are all the teachings of the Pleiadian stars. The stars of the world. Guess what? They got their leaven all in your bodies. They got their news articles, their gossip, their slander, their hatred, their jealousy, their envy. They're exposing people. They got all their leaven in your house. You don't even know you got it. People say, I ain't got no leaven in my house. Yes, you do. All these are a part of the leaven that he stole in your mind. He said, beware of the leaven of the scribes and the Pharisees. Matter of fact, beware of the leaven of the Pleiadian star systems and the Pleiades stars and the stars of the earth. Because as above, so below. He said, beware of the leaven. He said, can you beware of the Pleiades? Right? People talk about Taurus. He said, beware of the Pleiades. Atlas, star Atlas. That's what they call themselves at CERN, at the Hadron Collider. Right? All these are, and notice this is the star that appears in the first month, on the first day of the month, above all the other stars, above the planets, above the cosmos. He said, beware the leaven of the scribes and the Pharisees. He said, no, beware the teachings. Because there's a lot of other teachings out here. And people think, oh, it's just them. No, it's a whole bunch of other teachings as well. It's not just those teachings. Right, you got Maya, right? So what does this look like right here? Astro, a stereo. Notice how we talk about singing groups. He said, you're going to find the sweet influences of Madonna and all these other people. Notice what does this look like? Right? People saying, what does this look like? This is the Pleiadian star system that sits above the Mercury, or you say Mars, like they call it, in the first day of the first month. When you look at the stars and the constellations, if people are actually paying attention. And guess what? And I'm not talking about to worship it, but you're going to need to understand this, right? So this looks like a what? A man's hand. It looks like a what? It looks like a hand. Matter of fact, it got 7 stars in his hand. It got 7 stars in the hand. How you say? Kukah. And this is Taurus. And you know Taurus is the one that sits above. And it sits in the Taur star system. And it's a Pleiadian star system. So what does that look like? It looks like a hand, don't it? It looks like a hand. It looks like a hand. He said, beware the leaven of the scribes and the Pharisees. Beware their teachings. Beware of their teachings, right? When you saw that star system, it looks exactly like this. Because it is. It's the Pleiadian star system. It's the Pleiades. It's Estel. It's Mystero. That's what it is. It's Taurus. It's the worship of the stars, the constellations. That's what it is. It's always been that. That's what it's always been. You know how he said, I've engraved you in the palm of my hand? He's literally trying to get y'all away from that leaven of the scribes and the Pharisees, but people still holding to it. They still holding to it, right? You see the same thing. Right? People thinking, oh, it's just something. No, it's the 7 stars. It's the 7 stars. It's worship of the Pleiades, the Pleiadian star system. That's what it is. Same thing you see here. Somebody ever stuck their middle finger at you? Well, guess what? Now you know what it means. Now you know what it means. They ever stuck their middle finger at you? Some people use it in sexual things. But all these are a part of it. All of it's all a part of it. It's all a part of it. He said, beware the leaven. He said, make sure there's no leaven found in your house. So you can search your house. People saying, what is your Yahusha doing all this for? Man, he's scanning us. Y'all have no idea. He's scanning us. He's scanning us. Well, he said, this is from a movie. This is from Stargate. That's the Gaul. They fly in pyramids. He said, Hathor, Apophis. Right? All these beings flying around. And they use these talismans. And amazingly, what do you see? You see the same symbols in these actual talismans. And they've used that to cast spells on people, even kill people. They put it on their head and they act like they're healing somebody, laying hands on somebody. You know how you see people today? What they do? They do like this to people inside of these places and they be trying to lay hands on them and heal them. And they put that little thing on their head. Well, that's what that is. That's exactly what it is. And guess what it is? And you see those on singers too. They'll have like these little rings on top of their hand, and you'll see that on top of their hand while they're singing. Because it's the worship of the stars. I say, oh, no, you're worshiping the stars. And then people recite these songs in their head over and over again, and they don't even know what they're doing. You're actually brainwashing yourself. But he said, a little leaven leavens the whole lump. Right? Look at the Pleiadian star system. Right, because you know these are all what? Giants, right? You look, as we talked about before, right? These are all giants. You have dwarf stars and you have giants. You have subgiants, right here, subgiants of the Pleiadian star system. They giants. You have some big stars and you have some giants, but that's all a part of the hand. That's all a part of the hand, the worship of it. You know how people say, "Give you the hand." They give you the hand, like Martin. They give you the hand, but you don't even know what it means. It's all the worship of the stars. Star Atlas. Pleion, Atlas, Alecon, Maya, Electra, Calieno, Taigid, Merot, Estero. All these are part of the stars. He said, make sure ain't no leaven found in your house. Make sure ain't no leaven found in your house, right? So you look at that hand, they call it the Hamsa in Arabic, or Kamasa. It means five. It's like five, referring to the image of 5 fingers. How many stones did David get? He had the Father and the Son. Notice that we call it Father, Ab, and the Ben. But they call it the Hamza. What is that for? Because they're trying to get you away from the Father and the Son. That's why David picked up 5 smooth stones, and those stones was a Ben, and guess what it was? The Father and the Son, because that's all you need. You don't need them for the healing. You don't need them for anything. Also known as the Fatima, is a palm-shaped amulet, popular throughout North Africa. So you see that amulet in the middle? That's the same thing they use in these movies, and they show you it, and they put like this circle in the middle of it, and that talisman, and they use that. It says in the Middle East, and commonly in jewelry and handling, right? It says depicting the open hand, and the image recognized to be used as a sign of protection, and many times throughout history, the Hamza has been traditionally believed to provide defensive against an evil eye. You know how Yahushua said the light of the body is the eye? If that eye be or, the whole body be illuminated. But if that eye be darkness, how great is that darkness? Verse 3, you go down here, it says early use of the Hamsa could be traced back to Mesopotamian artifacts in amulets and goddesses. We know Mesopotamia as ancient Sumer, that's Babel. That's the children of Ham, going back to Ham, all the way back to Cain. When they left off from Yahuwah and they started perverting the name of Yahuwah, men began to do that when Shath was born. All the way back to the fall of Malachi, they started using amulets. Guess what it says? Amulets of the goddess Iana. I just showed you that woman, didn't I? The image of the open right hand. The right hand. You know how people say? I'm right-handed, but that's reality. It says in ancient North Africa, the Phoenician colonies of Iberian Peninsula of Spain and Portugal. That's what they say here. It says in the 8th century BCE, Israelite tomb containing the Hamza-like hand inscription was discovered in Khirbet el Kum. He said, yeah, we had that stuff too. He'd be like, man, why Yahuwah destroy us? You'd be like, yeah, he did that. We had that stuff. We had it all in our bodies. We had all that leaven in our heart. We had all that leaven in our mind. He said, little leaven leavens the whole lump. It says other symbols of divine protection. Guess what it says? Around the hand included the hand of Venus. The hand of Venus, or the Obelisks. Right? Adam talked about that. But most people don't know that because they don't know. You don't want to mess with these people. But they say what? Hand of Venus, the Aphrodite. The hand of Mary. Oh, I wonder what that is they do today. The hand of Mary. That was used to protect women from the evil eye and boost fertility. Because they worship the goddess of fertility. Just like they do in other countries. And they be black too. They brown skinned too. We seen them. Promote healthy pregnancies and strengthen the weak. In that time, women are under immense pressure. The expectation to become mothers. And the women's upbringing are centered on becoming a mother in an exclusive role, indicating childbearing. But it said right here, it was also a thought that marriage was a sense of protection for both men and women. Yes, it was. When you read the book of Thomas, the book of Philip, right? If you want to go read it, you'll clearly see that. And also with Adam and Kuo, but all that is important. But you see, it's goddess of Venus. It was used for the worship and amulets of the goddess Iana and Ishtar. And you start to see it was used for fertility. And it was used by Israelites, like they say, in five fingers, but we know that people forsook Yahuwah, right? It says, also, we're going through this, and it says, loose the cords. Can you loose the cords of Orion? These are all little leaven. Little leaven leavens the whole lump. You got you better get, he said, you got to get loose from Orion. We're trying to agitate, get Orion out of you. People saying, oh, Raynos. Can you open oneself? Can you open the cords? Something drawing a cord out of you? The bands? Can you loose the bands of Orion or Raynos? Orion, the Kit Seal, the constellation of Orion, Trying to get, he said, the great hunter, the giant huntsman. The man with the sword and the shield in his hand, the hunter. We're trying to get Zeus out of you. Whom Zeus, probably Artemis, placed among the stars as a constellation of Orion. The only person you're supposed to have, the Father and the Son. He said, you got all these other gods in your heart. You look to them. Man, look at that God. That God is awesome. Right? Look at him. Look at Hercules. Look at Thor. Look at Black Panther. Right? They got all the Kukulkan, right? Kukulkan, Katsar, right? Ekbala, right? The female wizard. She's just the goddess of fertility. She got that talisman. It's come from the same Gaul family, that same Apophis, same family of Ham. We got the teaching of the fallen. They all come from the same people. He said, little leaven the whole lump. Qahalath, the female warrior of California. Qahalath. Right? All these are all what? These are worship of goddesses. Ashun. All these are gods. The only person you're supposed to have is the Father and the Son. Now, when other people worship, that's what they worship. But if you're going to call on Yahushua Mashiach, you're going to call on Yahuwah, you can't have these gods. You only can have one. You only can have one Elohim. You can't have these gods. Artemis. Right? So you look at the Orion, because we talked about regale, we talked about, he said you got to have sandals on your feet when you eat the Pasach. Your feet, you regale, right? But then you see Orion belt. How many stars you see? 3 stars on his belt. I mean, who could break the bands of Orion? The belt. Right? You got 2 shoulders, right? Belatics, right? You got Beligais, Salaf, right? Mintaka, right? All these are a part of what? Star constellation. There are many other stars that surround it. They're all a part together. And he got the sword in his hand, lifted up. He has a shield in the front of him. And also he can have a bow and arrow, because the bow and arrow is pulled like that too. You had the arrow in front and you pull like that. And you notice how they both have swords and arrows and swords over their head. All that's a part of what? The mighty hunter. The hunter star. Do you have the hunter in your heart? Do you have these beings in your heart? Do you have Orion in your heart? Do you have Uranus in your heart? Are they your gods? Are you worshiping these beings? Are you looking up to them? Are you following them in your heart? Because Yahushua's scanning us right now. Right? He says what? Orion, a hunter. Do you have the hunter in your heart? That's what he is. He's the mighty hunter. Satan roared like a roaring lion seeking whom he may devour. Right? He a mighty hunter. Because Adam wasn't supposed to be hunting no animals. Adam wasn't supposed to be killing no animals. Adam supposed to be what? Having authority and dominion over the animals. And if the animal gets a little feisty, that's when he defend himself. Other than that, he wasn't just going around eating animals. He had to eat from the trees and the plants of the earth. That's what he gave Adam. Right? Do you have these beings in your heart? Do you worship these beings? Do you feel like they're going to lead you and guide you? Do you believe that Anubis is going to lead you and guide you? Do you believe that Tahuti is going to lead you and guide you? Do you believe that Orion and Osiris and Isis and Hathor, right? Do you believe these beings are going to lead you and guide you? If you do, then you got leaven in your heart. You got idols in your heart. You got to get these beings out of your heart if you're going to worship Yahuwah and Yahushua himself. You can't, right? You got Orion, right? Oranos, right? Right, the word for it. Can you lead forth Matsah? He says that's the constellations, the 12 signs of the zodiac. Note it. Are they your? He said, notice how these things are distinction, right? He said constellations, zodiacs, right? Some people worship the zodiac. They believe that that's just leading and guiding them. They believe that. Do you have that in your heart? The zodiacs are leading me and guiding me. Do you believe that? They're leading and guiding me. They're giving me my knowledge and understanding. Do you believe that? If you do, you got a little leaven in your heart. You have a little leaven. You got leavening, rising agents. This is what's causing the problems in your life, in your family, in your heart, amongst people, amongst others. These are the things that are causing the problems. Because you're worshiping other gods and you're following their lead. Because all they do is generate strife, right? This Matsah, right? You say, what? Can you bring forth Matsah? We're talking about the constellations, right? So, because we know the zodiacs, they say Greek, meaning the circle of the small animals, right? So you see how the animals move in this procession, but this animals moving in procession ain't worshiping man. That's what you got to think about. When there's fish in the water moving in a whirlwind, they're not worshiping man. The man is still trying to figure out what they're doing. They're not worshiping man, human beings, the gods and the stars. But it talks about this. They're showing themselves to be the constellations, to do what? To worship the one who made the Kugabim, the Ark, and the Shamash. The one who made the earth and all the streams and the rivers. The one who made and rules all gods. Where they can hear, speak, and talk, or where they can't hear, speak, and talk. Right, so we talk about the 12 tribes, and then we talk about the 12 zodiacs many times. The only reason I put them up here, because it's a representation of the zodiacs. Right? And each tribe moves in its procession. But then you start to see the Taurus in the beginning, above all. And we put Yehuda first. I'm talking to Yehuda first. I'm talking to Yehuda first. To Yehuda first. Do y'all have these gods, these Elohims in your heart? And that's what? Taurus, Aries, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. Why? Because they put it, and they have descriptions for every one, the behaviors that come with it. And some of the behaviors are negative. If people read them. He say, man, look at here. If you fall in their league, he's like, man, that's exactly what I am. And guess what? You believe it. And he said, Yahushua said, you've been crucified with me. You shouldn't even have them behaviors anymore. He shouldn't even have them. He said, you gonna let the constellation lead you, or you gonna let the 12 tribes lead you? You gonna let them lead you? Because there's only one leader. You gonna let them lead you? You see what they do. You see the 12 tribes doing now? A bunch of Cains out here. You gonna do like them? Right? He said, moving in procession. That's what we just talked about. Chag. He said, you should want to celebrate the feast and move into procession. The same way the cosmos moves. The same way that the sun and the moon and the stars move in the procession in a circle. He said, you're going to do the same thing. That's why he said, you're going to celebrate the Chag as a day of memorial, a remembrance of what? That I made the stars and the sun, and moon, and stars. That I made you. That's the only reason they're moving like that. Because they're obeying what Yahuwah told them to do in the beginning. Because they fixed. So therefore, you got to be fixed. Just like the constellations, and move in procession and dance in the circle. And do all the things he told you to do, so you will be the one to acknowledge the one who made all things. Just like the animals do. Just like the animals do. Just like the constellations move in the cosmos. You got to do the same thing. But if you worshiping them, you're not going to do it. If you giving praise and homage to them and giving them hallelujahs, it's saying you created me, the gods made us all, right? You doing that. You don't want to say that anymore. Them fighting words. That's like Pharaoh in the book of Ezekiel 39. He said, I made the Nile. You don't want to have that in your mouth. Them fighting words. You want to, if your king, your ruler, your governor, your pastor, your teacher, whoever he is, your pastor, whoever he is, your husband, your wife, or anybody ever boast and say they did it, you need to get up out of there as fast as you can, because Yahuwah's going to send, like he said, a Malachi Scud missile down their throat. You need to run for your life. I know everything. You need to run for your life. I made the law. I'm smart at everything. I ain't even got to study. Like you need to run for your life. He said, so you greater than the master Yahushua who had to read the book of Proverbs and Ecclesiastes and study all the books and everything like he did? He had to learn. He had to sit down and learn just like everybody else did. He had to learn the alphabet and all that. So you're saying you're greater than him? Yeah, you can get things by revelation and things like that, but don't ever say that. He said, even Enoch had to observe the trees. He said, observe the trees. Observe how everything is fixed, which means he got to study it. I ain't got to. I said, man. He said, you got to study it, right? So you got to move a procession, just like the animals. We don't need sheep. You think these sheep got a commandment? Like, yeah, they go to the priest in the middle, right? Move in a circle, right? No, they just doing it because it's just a part of who they are, right? Everybody's just moving in a circle. And that's what they do in procession, movements of the animals. That's what the animals do. And you know how well we don't know it? It's because we don't interact. The animals are doing it. Look at that. He's jumping around, rejoicing. Look at that. They rejoicing and joyful. Look at them jumping around. You think they worried about all this stuff that we worry about? Look at them. They just jump around. Let me get in. It's like the merry-go-round, right? Look at them. You think they worried about us? They ain't thinking about us. They just rejoicing before Yahuwah. They just like, Yahuwah, look at us. We still remember. Look at it. It's a perfect circle. Look at that thing. And you know that they're not even like worried about what other people doing. Ain't nobody in the circle. Which means they believing on something that's unseen. Ain't nobody in there telling them. Which means that he said, Barak is he who have not seen but still believe. They doing it better than us. And then people say, oh yeah, we're such a righteousness and purity. I'm like, these things they're doing it better than you. Right? It says right here, can you lead the great bear in this bond? Can you lead the great bear? The East, the constellation, bear constellation, Arcturus? Can you guide the bear and his cubs and the children? Can you do that? Can you move the constellations in the air? Can you do that? The great bear, it's the what? The constellation, the Aish. It's Aish, right? Can you lead the bear and his children? Can you do that? Can you do that? Can you do that? That's Arcturus. Right? Some people worship. He said Arcturus. He said, man, some people worship these things. You saw the people with these boots on, they take a piece of it, and they be marching. You don't even know what you worshiping. Like he said, you worship, you don't know what you worshiping. We know what we worship. For salvation came from the Yehudi. He said from the Yahudim. He said, we know what we worship. He said, Corona. He's like, man, let me get you a Corona. They be like, man, I don't want nothing to drink. You want me to drink that? You trying to get me drunk so I can worship the sun, moon, and stars? Notice right here it say what? Black eye galaxy. Black eye. And he said, the light of the body is the eye. And the eye be darkness, the whole body, how great is that darkness? He said, why would you leave that? Canes. He's like, man, why'd you do that? Canes, Venetica, Whirlpool Galaxy. Right? All these are all your companies of the earth. All these are your entertainments in the earth. All these are your all this stuff exists in the earth today. And you can worship it too. If you give too much time to it, and you put your time into it, granted, we know an idol is not nothing. But at the same time, you put too much time into it, you're gonna find yourself worshiping it. And it becomes your God, your idol. It ain't my God. He say, cast that stuff away. Like an abominable branch. Right? Just like anything, like all these are a part of it. The great bear. Right? You see that? They got the X right there, right on the leg. You take that leg out, everything goes down. But just like any other great bear, right? Just like other countries, they use the great bear as their symbol. Their constellation, the bear constellation. Right? All these are a part of it. Aloft, right? All this are a part of it. He said the little leaven leaveneth the whole lump. So you got any of these in your heart, he said, man, I love cigars, right? That's up there, right? M40, that's a rap group, Whirlpool, Sunflower Galaxy, right? I worship the sunflower, the sunflower that they put. Some people worship it, right? All this are a part of it. He said, a little leaven, he said, beware the leaven of the scribes and the Pharisees, right? Because Ursa Major, Ursa Minor, you got the greater bear, he said Ursa Major, and the minor bear is the what? Ursa Minor, right? Do you worship the stars? The Kukabin, the Yard, right? The great bear, the collection of stars in the northern hemisphere, right? So when we look at frequency, because we know when you talk about Ursa Major, Ursa Minor, we're talking about major and minor frequencies, just like on an instrument. So we look at frequency in physics, the number of waves that pass a fixed point in a unit time. So we look at all the fixed waves, just like the circular cycles of the 364-day cycle moves in its circular passions, in the circular chariots. He said it moves in procession. The frequency moves in procession in a circle, just like the animals do. It's fixed. The number of cycles of vibration or vibrations undergone during one unit of time by a body in periodic motion. It's a vibration. It's a vibrate. That's what he told Cain when he said you're going to be a Nuah. That word Nuah means vibrate. He said to and fro, you're going to be a vibration in the earth. You're going to be a certain frequency. He said you're going to have mercy and compassion. And I'm going to pass, everybody who comes to try to kill you, they're going to pass right over you. They're not even going to touch you. You're going to have a certain frequency on you. It says frequency is the rate of that which current changes direction per second. So if your frequency go higher vibration, then it's going to change every second. But it says it is measured in hertz frequency. It says hertz, 440 hertz. Right? You turn your instrument at 440 hertz, or 432 hertz, or 528 hertz, or 828 hertz. The higher your frequency go, the more you change. Right? You can go from a liquid. If you get an ice and you change the frequency, it's going to melt. Then when you change the frequency even more higher and heat it up, the liquid turns into a gas and you won't see it anymore. That's the same thing when it comes to us as our body. Same thing with sin and leaven. You heat up the frequency long enough, you heat up the frequency inside of yourself, then guess what? It detoxifies and it comes out of you just like sweat. And you won't even see it no more. But a little leaven leavens the whole lump. But if you put fermentation inside, it's not going to allow things to digest in your side of your body. It says it is measured in hertz, an international unit of measure, where 1 hertz is equal to 1 cycle per second. It says 1 hertz is equal to 1 cycle per second. It says 1 complete wave of alternating currents or voltage. Right? So you look at all this, you look at ultraviolet and infrared. Right? Infrared allows you to see. They banned infrared goggles, right? Why? Because you can see in infrared, you can see demons. You can see spirits. Dogs and cats and certain donkeys can see in infrared. They can see spirits. Because they're vibrating at a different frequency. That's why they can see it. They get x-ray. That's why they banned lead paint. Why? Because lead doesn't allow you to see through it. It's because they're using infrared to see in your house. Why? They can see right through it. Right, so you got gamma rays, and you got radio waves. Right, radio waves are still here, microwaves and X-rays. Right, all these are a part of what? Speeding up frequencies to see inside or peer inside of certain things, or to heat up. Like a microwave heats within whatever you put inside, and it heats it up really fast. So that's how your body has to be when you vibrate at a certain frequency. And that's the same thing they do with these stars, these sun, moon, and stars. It burns within you. Because it's speeding up your vibrations. You say, man, Yahushua said in Luke 24, he said, didn't our heart burn within us while he spoke with us, by the way? Because he was speeding up the vibrations. But it was his voice. It wasn't no singer or somebody with the stars and the sun, the moon, and the stars. You know how they say, oh, she just melted my heart. Oh, he just melted my heart. He just spit up your vibrations. And guess what? That person touched you. Gave you a compliment or said something, and now that frequency vibration that hit you, and now you done received what was said. And sometimes you can receive it from another God, and then you keep listening over and over again, and then that person becomes your God. Or that being becomes your God. When that person becomes your God, doesn't matter who they are, what title they may have on the earth. Right? right? We know frequency charts. So we know frequency charts have major and minor chords, and you can play that. You can play it in a certain fashion, and you can either play it on a flute, you can play it on a piano, a guitar, a 10-string instrument, or your 10 sephirots, or your 10 strings, even with 10 virgins, and you can still be in error. But all this is a part of what? Moving your body to worship the gods, the Elohims, the stars. So a little leaven leavens the whole lump. Just like this eclipse is getting ready to happen. They got all the gods putting their messages out on what you need to do and where you need to be to see it. And they're showing you, they're trying to get you to worship the moon. Why? Because when the moon gets between the sun and the earth, it creates an eclipse and no moon. What? Symbolizing what? Symbolizing life for you. That's basically what they're saying. That's life. To go see that. Man, that's life, man. That's a real life for me. To see an eclipse. I'm like, yeah, but what are you going to see the eclipse for? He said, I'm going to go see it. There's nothing wrong with looking at it. He said, I got to go look at it. But then he said, okay, are you looking at it as like, oh, that's a sign in the Shamayims. Even as we keep in remembrance of what the predictions of the Nabi'im, right, and what they said. Are you looking at it for that purpose? Or are you looking at it for, oh, moon, oh, stars, right? And now you become, he said, a little leaven. So the purpose of what you do has to change, right? So this is First Enoch, Pseudepigrapha, Volume 1, 1 through 6. He said, beware the leaven in the scribes and the Pharisees. So you got to check yourself. Do you have any leaven in your house? And all others together with them took unto themselves wives of each chose for himself one. And they began to go into them, and they defiled themselves with them, and they taught them charms and enchantments and cut roots. Did he say they married them? No, he fornicated. They fornicated. So you got fornication in your heart. Do you have a little leaven in your heart? If you do, you just like Shemjaza and Azazel. It says, and made them acquainted with plants. So he made it cutting of roots and making acquainted with plants. Cutting of plants for what? Yahuwah gave Adam plants to eat too. And he told him to eat it he said, every tree you may eat, but this tree you may not eat. But so what are they getting acquainted with plants for? To cast spells? To make drugs? So do you have that in your heart? You got a little leaven in there? He said what? Acquainted with plants, to cast spells, pharmakeia. It says, and they became pregnant and bare giants, whose height was 3,000 ells, who consumed all the acquisitions of men. And when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind, and they began to sin against birds. Are you sinning against birds? Against beasts, reptiles, and fish, to devour one another's flesh. Because when Yahuwah brought us out of the land of Mizraim, he never spake us concerning eating no animal sacrifices and eating flesh, and to drink blood. Because Yahuwah told us what to eat after we left Mizraim. He didn't tell us to do none of this stuff. He said, I brought you out of the land of Mizraim, out of the children of Ham and Cain, whom these giants bore these babies to, these children to. Then the earth laid accusations against the lawless ones. Then the earth did that. So what do you think the earth doing to you right now? First Enoch, Volume 1, Pseudepigrapha 8, 1 through 4. Then Azazel taught men to make swords, knives, shields, breastplates, and make known to them metals of the earth and the art of working them in bracelets and ornaments, and to use them for antimony and beautifying the eyelids. Huh? Do you have that? People saying, what do you mean? All kinds of costly stones and coloring and tinctures, and there were much godlessness, and they committed fornication, and they led astray and became corrupted in their ways. And some jobs that they taught enchantments and cutting of roots, and Amros resolving of enchantments, Barachel that taught astrology, Koribal the constellation, Ezekiel the knowledge of the clouds, Arikel the signs of the earth, Shemizel the signs of the sun, and Sariel the course of the moon. And men perished and cried, and they cried, and their cry went to the Shamaim. So are you doing it? Are you worshiping these things? I ain't talking about learning it and understanding it for another purpose. We're talking about, are you worshiping these things? Are these things in your heart to where it's like, you are my Elohim and you are my God? You're my God. Because if so, he said, little leaven leaveneth the whole lump, right? First Enoch Aleph Canute, Volume 1, Chapter 8, 1 through 4. The name of the first was Gion, that is, the one who led astray all the sons of Elohim, and brought them down to the earth, and led astray through the daughters of men. And the second was named Absbaal. He imparted the Chdsh sons of Yahuwah evil counsel. Are you doing evil counsel to people? Are you giving evil counsel to people, trying to make them fall, so you can laugh and joke and crack and do crude joking? He said that's a little leaven, and he led them astray. Yahushua said, "Let no man lead you astray." Are you purposely doing that? Are you having fun? Is it nice and is it funny for you? So that they defiled their bodies with the daughters of men. They committed fornication. You think that's funny? You think that's funny? You think that's a joke? That's not a joke. He said that's a little leaven left the whole lump. He said for 7 days you shouldn't even have this in your house. Matter of fact, for the rest of your life. And the third was named Gadriel, and he is the one who showed the children of men the blows of death. He's talking about killing people. And he led them astray. And Kawur led astray Eve, and showed the weapons of death to the sons of men, and the shield and the coats of mail, and the sword for battle, and all the weapons of death to the children of men. You got people doing that today. Aren't they doing that? They got their guns and all their things. In the name of Yahuwah, 1 Corinthians chapter 6. They got their gun right next to them, right in your face. He says, and from his hand have proceeded against those who dwell upon the earth, and from the day and forevermore. And the fourth was named Penuel, Panamual. And he taught the children of men the bitter and the sweet. He taught them poison, how to poison people. And he taught them all the secrets of their wisdom. And he instructed mankind in writing and ink and paper. That's what we're reading off today. And thereby many sinned for eternity and eternity until this day. Endless books, sex novels, mystery novels, all these books. He's like, look at this book, look at this book, look at this book, look at this book, look at this book. For men were not created for such a purpose. I mean, we were first created to go to the ground, till the ground, interact with the animals, eat plants, live free. That's what we were created to do. Get what it says. For men were not created for such purpose, to give confirmation to their good amuna with pen and ink. For men were created exactly like the Malachim, the intent they should continue to live pure and righteous and to be pure, righteous, and death, which destroys everything, could not have hold on them. Why do you think we just talked about Yahushua was able to conquer death? Because he was living a righteous and pure life. That's all it was. He lived a righteous and pure life, which destroys everything. Right? That's all he was doing. He says, continue to live righteous and pure and righteous, and death, which destroys everything, could not have hold of them. But through their knowledge, they are perishing, and through this power, it is consuming me. Right? And the fifth was named Kasidya. This is the one who showed the children of men the wicked smiting of spirits and demons. He showed how to conjure up spirits and kill people. Do y'all have this in your heart? And the smiting of the embryo in the womb. Have you not repented for committing abortion? Have you repented for that? Is that still in your heart? Have you committed fornication? You got a child and you thinking about it? Says that it may pass away. People saying you gotta repent for even thinking about it. People say I ain't never repent for that. From way long, he's like, and the smiting of the soul, and the bites of the serpent, and the smiting which befall the noontide heat. Right? All that's a part of it. Right? This is Canute, 2 Enoch 15:8. But now the giants who are born in the union of the spirits and the flesh shall be called evil spirits upon the earth, because their dwelling shall be upon the earth. Evil spirits have come from their bodies, because from that day they were created, the Qahalath ones, they became the watchers, the first origin of spiritual foundation. They became evil upon the earth, and shall be called evil spirits. The dwelling of the spiritual beings of the Shamayims is Shamayims, but the dwelling of the spirits is of the earth. So he said, do you have these beings inside of you? He said, how do you know you got these beings? If you're doing the behaviors that I just talked about, and you eating what they eat. That's how you got them. Was that hard to figure out? How did they die? By doing all that? That's how they died. Acts 19:34-37. He said, "Beware the leaven of the scribes and the Pharisees." But we got to beware the Pleiades leaven, Orion, the hunter. We got to beware of the Ursa Major, Ursa Minor, the sun, moon, and star, the Pegasus galaxy, Beetlejuice. Yeah, you got Beetlejuice, right? They make you call on them during the shows. Like, all these are a part of it. The Her star system. I ain't even talk about all these beings. But there's a lot of stars out here. He said, beware. Right, this is Acts 34-37. But when they recognized that he was a Yehudi, yeah, that's exactly what they do. They say Jew here, but it says, for about 2 hours, they all cried out with one voice, "Great is Artemis of Ephesians." They cried out for their God. Guess what happened? And when the town clerk had quieted the crowd, he said, "Men of Ephesus, who is there who does not know that this city of Ephesians is the temple of the keeper of the great Artemis, and the sacred stone that fell from the sky?" He talking about something that fell from the sky, a meteorite. A stone, a meteorite, a piece of rock. And they worship the rock. They worship a falling star. Just like the wise men saw the star flying and they ate the other star, that star fell to the ground and people worshiped it. He said, do you have that in your heart? Because a little leaven leaveneth the whole lump. Seeing then that these things cannot be denied, you ought to be quiet and not do nothing rash. For you have brought these men here who are neither sacrilegious nor blasphemers of our goddess. Because they worship fertility. We talked about the fertility. They worship the talisman goddesses, and that's what they did. They worship women. They worship the feminine energy. Do you have that in your heart? You got men worshiping the feminine energy. Do you have that in your heart? And people saying, what all this homosexuality, or what these things that people talk about? Men with men and women with women come from. Notice all the people who do that, they always got to go off by themselves and do something. Yes, me and myself, and they be doing all this stuff and this crazy stuff, and then people be wondering like why they doing it. It's because they worship other stuff. They worshiping other gods. Do you have that in your heart? It ain't talking about them. I'm talking about people who believe in Yahuwah. He said, do you have that in your heart? Now that's the ESV version. The King James version give you a little bit more to what they were talking about. Just more. It says, but when they knew that he was a Yehudi, all of with one voice about the space of 2 hours cried out. They were 2 hours. We was in the airport. What were they doing? What were they doing in the airport? We was at one time. They kept calling that guy. We was sitting ready to go to the airport. Mother Mary, goddess, Mother Mary, goddess. They kept doing it over and over again. We were like, what? No? And we just found out the hand of Mary, right? He's like, man, that's the worship of the Pleiadian stars, man. These people keep doing that to us. Like, man, what are they trying to do? I didn't want to get on the plane. But it said, the space of 2 hours cried out, great is Diana of Ephesians. They did it for 2 hours. Can you imagine? Great is Diana of Ephesians. Great is Diana. They saying basically Gadol Ma'or, Mim Shala. They saying that she ruled it. It says, and when the town clerk had appeased the people, he said, Ye men of Ephesus, what man is there that knoweth not that the city of the Ephesians is a worship of the great goddess Diana, and the image that fell down from Jupiter? They worship the Jupiter. They worship the gods in the Shamayim. They worship other gods. He said, these are the little leaven that leavens the whole lump. That Paul Shaul was talking about. Because the people were worshiping these gods, and people do it today. And people that believe on Yahuwah do it. They be saying Most High. You feel like, man, I don't think you want to do that. Most High Yahuwah, you shouldn't do that. If you got these gods in your heart. It says, seeing then that these things cannot be spoken against, you ought to be quiet and do nothing rashly, for we have brought hither these men, who are neither robbers of churches, because these are places of pagan. They worship other gods. They worship Jupiter. That's why they call them churches. Nor yet blasphemers of our goddess. Like you go to these different churches and places, like you go to overseas, like these are fake churches over here. They try to mask it. But you go over to like Switzerland, these other places, man, they got gods coming out of the walls, right? They got them on top, on the side, right? They show you what they worship inside, right? But all these are a part of the whole construct of what? The worship of the stars. That's the only thing that's the only way you're gonna make something like that. Put demons on your building, right? Make idols in stone. For you have brought hither these men, which are neither robbers nor yet blasphemers of your goddess, right? Because they worship that god. Men worshiping the fertility god, and people are like, well, everybody all twisting and twerking and twisting around. It's not hard to figure out because they're worshiping other gods. They're worshiping the sun, moon, and stars. They're worshiping the fertility goddess because they want to get pregnant. They want to have some children, and they men. They worship fertility. They worship women. And then the women leaves, and he said they be doing all their little chant, and then the women just be leading. They be like leading the whole thing, and then people don't even know what they be going on, and they be thinking like everything good, and they be wondering, man, why I desire this? Why I desire that? Why I desire men with men, women with women? That's what Paul said in Romans 1. He said, exchanging the image of Yahuwah for mortal man, right? In the exchange the image of Yahuwah, they started worshiping themselves, burning their own lust, and people wonder where it come from. It comes from the worship of the fertility goddess. It comes from worshiping other gods like Jupiter and Mars and Venus, worshiping the 7 stars, Orion, Uranus. It comes from worshiping these gods. You gotta get away from them. It's like you gotta go ghost, like they say. You gotta get away from these people. You gotta find yourself. You gotta find out who you are in the image and likeness of Yahuwah. You gotta get the bar on your heart. You gotta get the Torah. He said, "Is it not written in your Torah?" I said, "You are gods, you're Elohim." And I said that on the first day of creation. He said, "If I called you Yahudim, the Jews, the people of the Torah," he said, "I called you Elohim. If I called you Elohim, then the word can't be changed. It can't be changed." This is Acts 19:13-16. Then certain of the vagabonds, Yahudim exorcists, took upon them to call over them which had evil spirits. It says the name, which had evil spirits, the name of the master Yahushua, saying, we adjure you by Yahushua, whom Shaul preacheth. Right, which means if they saying we adjure you by Shaul, he preached, that means they don't believe in Yahushua Mashiach. Which means they don't believe in Yahushua Mashiach. They don't have the blood of Yahushua Mashiach on them or within them, which means that the evil spirits ain't gonna Pasach over them. They ain't gonna pass over them. Right? And it says, verse 14, and there were 7 sons of Sceva, a Yehudi, and chief of the priests, which did so. So you had other Jews, Yehudi, trying to do the same thing that Shaul was doing. And it says, and the evil Ruach spirit answered and said, Yahusha I know, because you know Yahusha, that's the blood of Yahusha. He said, he the master of spirits. That's the master. Shaul I know. He said, I know Shaul. Shaul got the blood of him. He looked just like him. He said, all the immersion Yahusha had put him on, right? He said, but who are you? Man, you ain't got the blood on him. You know, just like he said, if you don't got the blood on the doorpost, on your house and your gates within, guess what he said? He said, the destroyer ain't going to destroy you, right? Let's see what happened to them. And the man in whom the evil spirit was leaped on them, which means now the destroyer jumped on them. And now it didn't pass over them. Because it passed over Paul, Shaul, but it didn't pass over them. And then when they don't pass over them, let's see what happened. And overcame them. That's what it's going to do. It's going to consume them. It's going to pervert them. It's going to consume their flesh, a wasting disease. And prevailed against them. It took over their whole body. And guess what happened? So they fled out the house. They fled out that house naked and wounded. Just like you see Pasach. He said, if you got these guys, he said, I'm going to execute judgment on all the gods of Mizraim. And you got to have a door on the house and on the doorpost and on the gates. And guess what? On the threshing floor on the top of the house, on the side. And you got to eat the lamb within. But that lamb was only for that one time. Because we know that, behold, the lamb of Yahuwah will take away the sin of the world. Yahusha I know, Shaul I know, and the spirit was like, I'm the destroyer. You are mine. Like you say, like Shang Tsung on Mortal Kombat. Your soul is mine, right? You take over your whole body. And they ran out the house naked. Amazing, they ran out naked, just like you see that. Just like he said, beware the leaven of the scribes and the Pharisees, right? Beware the leaven of the scribes and the Pharisees. Why would he do that? Why? Because Bereshit 1:1. In the beginning, Elohim created the Shamaim in the earth. Because remember, we got to do it from the first day to the seventh day. In the beginning, Yahuwah made the Shamaim in the earth, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness over the face of the deep. And the Ruach of Elohim was moving on the face of the waters. And Elohim said, let there be light. And there was light. And Elohim saw the light, it was good. And he separated the light from the darkness. And Elohim called the light Yum, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, Achad, Yum. Everything was one. That's the first day. So we supposed to eat unleavened bread from the first day to the seventh day. We supposed to have no leaven in our houses from the first day. Just like the beginning, right here. Everything's Achad. We all one in one place. We're all doing it as one. And guess what happens? We're supposed to keep the leaven out of our house for 7 days until this day. This first day of what we're doing, it means it's Shabbat on the first day. We just talked about the first day right there, and now it's Shabbat on the last day, which is the seventh day. Because he's already trying to teach us how to walk, how to operate. Bereshit 2:1. Thus the Shamaim in the earth were finished, the Eras were finished, or Qahalath, and all the hosts of them. And on the seventh day, Yahuwah finished Qahalath, his work that he had done. And he rested the Shabbat day and did all his work that he had done, or Isha, or Etzah, like he say, accomplished. So Elohim baraked the seventh day, and he made it Qahalath, because on it, Elohim rested from all his work that he had done in creation. That's what he did. He rested. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to do it for 6 days. We're going to eat unleavened bread. We're going to have no leaven in our house. And then and during that time, we're going to look out for the leaven of the scribes and the Pharisees and the stars, and the sun, moon, and stars, and the other gods, and the other beings, and make sure we ain't got none of the worship of them, or even the acknowledging, or even their words, or put their words before them. And we're going to do that for 7 days. We're going to make sure they don't deceive us. Because if we have it in our house, in 11, he said he's going to cut us off. He's going to kill us. He said he's going to cut us off. He's going to let the destroyer come in. Because we got to have the blood on us for the whole year. Within and without. We got to have Yahushua Mashiach. And if we don't, he's going to let the destroyer come in our body as soon as we do it. And we're going to be just like that man in the book of Acts. Shaul, I know, he got this evil spirit jump in, and we run out naked in the street. Right? He made them tear their whole garments, right? So this Bereshit 1:26. Then Yahuwah Elohim said, let us make Adam and Matsah and Salim after our Damut, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, the God, over the birds of Shamaim, the oak, over the livestock, the behemoth, and over all the earth, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. Yahuwah did not tell Adam to worship the animals. And these same animals move in procession. Amazingly, birds do it, fish do it, insects do it, and livestock do it. But we don't do it. But they do it. All the stuff that you see, we just named here, they do it. So if they're doing it, he said, can't you go ask the animals, and they'll tell you. In the book of Ehud, they'll tell you I did all this. But how they gonna tell you? With signs? Verse 27, so Yahuwah created Adam in his own image. In the image of Yahuwah, he created him. Males, Achad, and female, Nakabah. He created them. That's how he made them. He joined them together, both male and female. But if you worship other sun, moon, and stars, you know what they're going to say. Zakar. Nakubah. Woman, female child, male child, joined together as one, right? If you worship them, the sun, moon, and stars. Now people saying, why is the need to not leave your father and mother in the highest Shamaim? Because if you do, you worship the sun, moon, and stars, you start worshiping the host of the Shamaim, this is what's going to happen to you. And that's why people saying, why is it happening to people? It's not a secret. Right? Bereshit 1:28-31. And all of Yahuwah baraked them, and Yahuwah said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it. And have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the Shamaim, and over every livestock that moves on the earth. Guess what? He ain't telling them to worship them. And all Yahuwah said, behold, I have given every plant yielding seed that is on the face of the earth, and every tree with seed and its fruit, you shall have them for food. Ikla. So you got to have them for food. This is Yahuwah's doctrine. He said that's his doctrine. That's what he told us to do. When he brought us out of the land of Mizraim, he didn't tell us about eating no flesh and killing no animals. He didn't tell Cain when he cast him out to eat no flesh and kill no animals. He didn't tell Adam when he cast him out to eat no flesh and kill no animals. And when he had a dream with Yusuf, and he told him to go to Mizraim, and he said, this is to be written, out of Egypt Mizraim, I called my son. So when he brought, after Herod stopped seeking the child's life, when Yahushua was brought out of Mizraim, Yahuwah did not tell Yahushua Mashiach to eat no flesh and kill no animals. And no animal sacrifice for sin. That's why he was on a mission after that. Because he brought him out to work it and keep the garden. That's the only reason he sent Adam out. We know that he didn't do that. That's why he said, out of my son, out of Egypt, Mizraim, I called my son. In Mizraim, that's what they did. That's why he did it. Verse 30 says, and to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the Shemaims, and to everything that creeps on the earth, everything that has breath of life, I have given every green plant for food, and it was so. So he ain't changed it. And people change it because they worship other gods. They worship other mighty ones. How you say they cold? You know how you should say, man, you cold, either cold or hot. He said, you lukewarm. He said, I spew you out of my mouth. Because people lukewarm today. Because they don't want to go all the way. Verse 31 says, and Yahuwah Elohim saw that everything he had made, and behold, it was very good. So these words are good, plants, subdue, rule, authority, dominion. Don't worship anything. You don't see that? He said, don't do none of that. And it was good, very good. And there was evening and there was morning, the sixth day. So everything Yahuwah made, he created, was good, right? For us to eat was good, right? We believe this and know the truth, right? But we saw what the fallen did. When they demons and they made it, they sinned against animals, beasts, reptiles, consuming all the attributes of men, eating blood and the flesh. That was not Yahuwah's commandment. Right, this is Bereshit 2, 7-9. Then Yahuwah Elohim formed Adam from the dust of the ground, the Adamah, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. And man became a living creature, and Yahuwah Elohim planted a Gan in Eden, in the east, and he put Adam, whom he had formed, out of the ground. Yahuwah Elohim made the spring of every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food, me'akal. He said, beware the leaven of the scribes and the Pharisees, right? And of these other gods. There's a reason. Bereshit 2, 15-17. And Yahuwah Elohim took the man and put him in the garden to work it and keep it, to guard it, to abide in Shamar. And Yahuwah Elohim commanded man, saying, you may surely eat of every tree of the garden, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you shall not eat of it. For in the day you eat of it, you shall surely move, which means you're going to find out some information about other gods. You're going to be led by demons. You're going to find out about other spirits. You're going to find out about other things and other beings out here. And guess what? Your discernment skills going to have to pick up after you find that out. Because if you don't, you're going to find yourself in a world of trouble. Right? Right, this Bereshit 2, 18-25. Then Yahuwah Elohim said, it is not good that man should be alone. I will make him a Izar. Now out of the ground Yahuwah Elohim formed every beast of the field and every bird of the Shemaims and brought them to the man to see what he would call them. Whatever the man called every living creature, that was his name. So they did Adam and did that as one. How you say? As Adam. The man gave names, or Adam gave names to all the livestock and the birds of the Shemaim and to every beast of the field, but to Adam there was not found a helper fit for him. There wasn't nobody there. Because he was both masculine and feminine on the inside. How you say it? He was both masculine and feminine. He had both. He was both. He could name, he could nurture, and he could care. He had all that. And he could bear too, right here. And Yahuwah caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam. And while he slept, he took one of his selah and closed up his place with flesh. And the rib that Yahuwah had taken from the man, he made into an Isha and brought her to the man to eat her. You know how he said it? He took a rib from an animal and ate it and destroyed it. Then the man said, this is at last bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. She shall be called Isha, because they were taken out of the Ish. You know, what did the fallen Malachim start doing? They started eating men and women because they were flesh. Remember, they eat all the animals, they consume all the creatures of the earth. Then they start eating human flesh. That's how bad it got. Therefore, a man in Ish shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his Isha, and they shall become Achad Basar, one flesh. And the man and Adam and his wife were both naked, and they were not ashamed, which means they were naked, but they weren't possessed by no spirits. The other man was possessed by spirits, and he ran out naked. These two, they were naked, and they ain't have no spirits. It's like a child being born. That child don't know what's going on. But that man knew, that other man knew what was going on, and he was possessed with the spirit. That thing made him run out naked. And he had a demon on the inside, Shadim. Because he ain't believing Yahushua Mashiach. In this state right here, these two are naked. They ain't got no spirits on the inside. They ain't got no other knowledge, right? Right. This Proverbs, or Bereshith, 3:1. It says, now the serpent was more crafty than any other beast of the field that Yahuwah Elohim had made. And he said to the woman, did Yahuwah actually say, ye shall not eat of any tree in the garden? Because what did Yahushua say to his Shalakim, his disciples? He said, beware the leaven of the scribes and the Pharisees. He said, beware their teachings, their doctrine. Beware their teachings and their doctrine. That includes the priests of Jupiter, the priest of Ephesus, the priest of Mesopotamia, the Balaam, all these other beings. Ursa Major, Ursa Minor, Pleiades, Mahadana, the influences of all these beings out here. And again, we said, and the woman said to the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but Yahuwah said, you shall not eat of the fruit of the tree that is in the midst of the garden, neither shall you touch it, lest you die. But the serpent said to the woman, you shall not surely die. So now, beware the leaven of the scribes and the Pharisees. He said, what how's it that you're talking about bread? We're not talking about bread. He said, how many loaves did I get? 7. How many did you still can't perceive what I'm talking about? Beware of the leaven of the scribes and the Pharisees. What is he trying to get them to do? Eat something. He said, for Yahuwah knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be open, and you will be like Yahuwah, knowing good and raw, ta'ub and raw. So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was the light to their eyes, and that the tree was the desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit and ate, and also gave it to her husband who was with her, and he ate. Then the eyes of both of them were open, and they knew that they were naked. Which means now you got the destroyer on the inside of you. It's now been unleashed unto you, and it doesn't pass over you. It ain't gonna pass over you. Now it's inside of you. The destroyer is now inside. Now you're naked, and you know you're naked. Just like the book of Acts. He said, Yahushua I know, Shaul I know, but who are you? And he jumped inside of him, and now he ran out butt naked. Now he realized they were both, he's like, man, he naked. Why? Because he's not clothed with Yahushua Mashiach anymore. He's not clothed in obedience. Yeah, when he said, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves loincloths, and then they tried to clothe themselves after that. Because now it's like, oh my gosh, I'm naked, you're naked, oh my gosh, we're both naked, this is all evil. Oh my gosh, she coming up her breast, he coming up this, he coming up this, he's like, oh my gosh, we're naked. Right, they now realize it. Oh my gosh. Right, can you imagine? You're naked. It's the first time they've seen it. Right? So now the serpent, the word for serpent is nakash. It means serpent, snake. That's a different being, right? We're talking about a different being, a hiss, a snake, a serpent. Right? Serpent is a different being. Shaitan was inside, Satan all was inside the serpent because he had craftiness. We talked about the craftiness in the beginning of this. He's deceiving you as he's cunning, right? He's very crafty. So Satan used that to get inside of him in the garden. Right? The serpent, the Nakash, right? He said, beware the leaven of the scribes and the Pharisees, these serpents. That's why you can call them generation of vipers. Because he said, beware the leaven of the scribes and the Pharisees. Beware the leaven of the priests of Jupiter. And the worship of the goddesses, of Diana, Ishtar, right? And Inan, and the 7 stars. All these are all leavens. different teachings. These are doctrines that are taught in the world. It says right here, Bereshit 3:8-13. And they heard the sound of Yahuwah walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And the man and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahuwah among the trees. You know, he butt naked. I don't want nobody to see me. Right. So that's why when you walk outside, you can't walk out naked. Because now you see why you go outside and you're just ashamed. You got to put your hand over this and that and that. You can't do it in front of people. Why? Because they're gonna see your shame. That's why you have them thoughts in your mind. It all came from that. Because before we didn't have them. But Yahuwah Elohim called to the man and said to him, "Who are you?" He said, "Where are you?" And he said, "I heard the sound of you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked and I hid myself." So that indecent exposure, right? Everybody got that mindset. Like you got some people who walk around butt naked now. They be like, "I'm free. I don't care if you look at me naked or not." They don't care. You're like, "Man, you been one blind. Right? You still in the garden." Right? Some people walk like that. Right? But you know they ain't following. How you saying they following? How you saying they're not following? I believe in Yahuwah, and this is what he told me to do. Right? Like Yeshayahu. He walked around with his buttocks uncovered. Like he walked around with his butt out. Can you imagine a man walking around with his butt out, like in a community and just walking around? That's what Yeshayahu had to do. He said, "Why he walking around naked? Because of this." And he said right here, he said, "Naked, I hid myself." And he said, "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree which I command you not to eat?" Man, where'd you get that knowledge? Or did you eat? You must have been beware of the scribes and the Pharisees. You ate from the doctrine. You weren't beware. You weren't thinking about it. He said, "Beware of the leaven." So you ate from the leaven of the scribes and the Pharisees. You ate that teacher, that female teacher. You ate that doctrine. You ate that sound, that singer, that news article. You let it get in your heart. Who told you about that? You let these things get in your mind, and that's what happened. He said, you weren't thinking about the leaven of the scribes and the Pharisees. He said, the man said, "The woman that you gave me, she gave me of the fruit of the tree and I ate. She gave me the leaven." She gave me the leaven, basically. She gave me the leavened bread. It's supposed to be unleavened, and she gave me leaven. She gave me yeast. She gave me rising fermentation. Because when you realize you're naked, other things happen too. Then Yahuwah Elohim said to the woman, "What is this you have done?" And the woman said, "The serpent deceived me, and I ate. I ate leavened bread." I ate the leaven of the teachings of the serpent. Because he kept persistently trying to get her to eat it. And word for deceive is Nashah. He beguiled me. He led me astray. That's why Yahusha said, "See that no man lead you astray, or no Kash, or no female wizard, sorcerer. See that the 7 stars and the Kukabim and Orion don't lead you astray, and the hunter. See that the Peg star and the Her star and all these beings don't lead you astray. See that these pastors and teachers and evangelists and Nabiim don't lead you astray, and these magic bands and these females and these head wraps." He said, "See they don't lead you astray with all these fake things that they do on their outward, and inwardly they look wicked. They just as wicked as everybody else. See that you don't lead you astray with all them songs they sing, and all these things that you see. See that people don't lead you astray. You got a whole bunch of people singing songs, different songs, that stuff, doing all these theatrics with trumpets and all these things. See that nobody leads you astray, and have you thinking that you've been walking with me. Seduce, deceive." Then they pull their hand behind their hat and you be like, "Man, where do you get that from?" We get through this. This is Yukonon 12:27-33. "Now is my soul troubled. What shall I say? Father, save me from this hour. For this purpose I came for this hour." Why do you think he coming? For all the stuff we just talked about. For the kabod of your name. He said, "Father, kabod of your name." The voice from Shamaim said, "I kabod it and I'll do it again." The crowd that stood there heard it and said, "It had thundered." Others said, "And Malak had spoken to him." Yahushua answered them, "This voice came for your sake, not mine. This came for your sake. Beware the leaven of the scribes and the Pharisees." Because Yahushua like, "I ain't got no leaven inside of me." You people got the leaven inside of you. And guess what he's saying? Get the leaven out of your house. It's for your sake, not mine. Now is the judgment of this world. Now will the ruler of this world be cast out. And when I am lifted up from the earth, I will draw all people to myself. I'm going to be the constellations. I'm going to be the sun, moon, and stars. Because all the people looking at them. And they need to be looking at me. So I'm going to be the sun, moon, and star. I'm going to be the eclipse. I'm going to be the constellations, Pegasus Galaxy. I'm going to be the Hertz star. Matter of fact, I'm going to be the Bear constellation. I'm going to be Ursa Major, Ursa Minor. I'm going to be the Pleiades. Matter of fact, I'm going to be Orion. I'm going to be the Mighty Hunter. And when I am lifted up from the earth, I'm going to draw people to myself because light shine in the night. Stars shine in the night. And he said to them to show what kind of death he was going to die. This is Uchenai 18, 1 through 14. After Yahushua had spoken these words, he went out with the disciples across Kidron, and when they entered the garden, that's where Adam was. And what did he say? He in the garden. Now Yehuda, his betrayer, also knew the place because Yahushua had often met there with his disciples. He always there. Now Yehuda brought a band of soldiers and officers and the chief priests and the Pharisees, and they came to the garden carrying lanterns and torches and weapons. That's what Yahuwah had when he drove Adam from the garden. A bunch of lanterns and torches. He had a flaming sword to keep the way of the tree of life. And Yahuwah, that's what he had it there for. We're going to skip down. We're going to see something right here. And Yahushua, knowing all that was coming upon him, stepped forward and asked him, "Whom are you seeking?" Man, we seeking. What you seeking? Yahushua said, Yahushua, Nazareth, they answered. Yahushua said, "I am he." And Yehuda, his betrayer, was standing there with them. And when Yahushua said, "I am he," they drew back and fell to the ground. They fell to the ground. They fell to the ground to worship the sun, moon, and stars. They fell to the ground to worship the sun, moon, and stars. Matter of fact, they say, they all bowed down and gave obedience to him, the sun, moon, and the stars. He said, why he had to do all that? Because he needs to get his worship back. He needs to get it back to the Father, return the heart of the children to the Father. Verse 7 says, so he asked them again, "Whom are you seeking?" Yahushua of Nazareth, they answered. "I told you I am he." And Yahushua replied, "If you are seeking me, let these men go." So why do you think he did that? Just like he gave to the Kua ate from the garden, and then she gave to her husband and he ate. That's why he did it twice. He said, "Whom are you seeking?" He said, if you're looking for me, let these men go. This was to fulfill the word he had spoken. "I have lost none of those you have given me." What did he say in the book of Yeshua, Eve 38? He said that can you lead the bear and its cubs? The great bear and its children, its son, its bane? What do you think he's saying right here? He said, if you're looking for me, he said, let these men go. He said, let these men go. He said, let them go. Ain't that something? Ain't that something? It's just like everything has a purpose, everything has a purpose. He says, and then Simon drew his sword and struck the servant of Hakan's ear and cutting off his right ear. He says, the servant's name was Malchus. He said, put your sword back in your sheath. Yahushua said, he said, put the sword back in your sheath. Yahushua said to Chag, shall I not drink of the cup my father has given me? No, he said, put the sword back in your sheath. What did the constellation Orion have? He had a sword in his hand with a shield. Shall I not drink of the cup your father has given me? And then the band of soldiers with its commander and the officers and the Yahudim arrested Yahushua and bound him. They brought him first to Ananias, who was the Caiaphas, the High Khan that year. And Caiaphas was the one who advised the Yahudim that it would be better that one should die for the people. Right? This is Matthew 26, 30 through 35. And when they had sung a hymn, right, this is before that happened. You know how they show you something in an event, and they show you something before? And when they had sung a hymn, they went out to the Mount of Olives, and then Yahushua told them, this very night you will fall away on my account of me, for it is written, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will be scattered. They're supposed to be moving in procession. They're supposed to be moving in a circle. But then guess what happened? He said they're going to be scattered. They're not even going to be joyful anymore. They ain't going to be jumping around in a circle of possession. They're going to kill the shepherd. And guess what happens? He said, smite the shepherd and the flock going to be scattered. Or he mean the great bear and its cubs are going to be scattered if you smite the great bear. But after I have risen, I will go ahead to you in Galilee. Qahalath replied, even if all fall away on your account of you, because they'd be like falling stars. Because you smite the big bear constellation, then all the other stars are going to fall. The stars of the Shamayim going to fall. He said, if all fall away from you, I will never fall. Truly, I tell you who should answer. He said, truly, I tell you who should answer. This very night, before the rooster crows, you will disown me 3 times. You said, you're going to fall. Because when the stars fall, you can see them in the night when they fall. They call them shooting stars. Look at that, a shooting star, a falling star. A falling star. He said, this night, after they smite the big bear constellation, the big bear, the mama bear, he said, you're going to fall. He was saying, why do you need parents? Because that child got the mother and the father. That child going to fall. That child is going to fall. If they ain't got no parents with no righteousness in their heart and leading them in the Torah, and Yahuwah guiding them, because Yahuwah guides the constellations and the stars. If Yahuwah ain't guiding them, that child going to fall. Verse 35, but Qahalath declared, even if I have to die with you, I will never disown you. And all the other disciples said the same. Everybody boasting, talking junk. They talking trash. That's just like Eli's sons going to war, talking, Ark of the Covenant, right? And then they see Goliath everybody show up. They running for their life. They lose the battle. Everybody talking junk. Let's see what happens, right? We continued on, verse 69. Now Qahalath was sitting out of the court, and the servant girl came to him. You also are with Yahushua of Galilee, she said. That woman, she said, but he denied it before them all. I don't know what you are talking about, he said. Then he went out to the gateway where another servant girl saw him and said to the people, there, this fellow was with Yahushua now. Know all these nosy girls, these women keep talking to him. And he said he denied it again with an oath. He said, I don't know the man. After a little while, those standing with him of Qahalath said, surely you are one of them. Your assent gives you away. And they began all to curse and to swore, I don't know the man. Immediately a rooster crowed. You know why he denied him 3 times? Because of the 3 stars of Orion. Those are the 3 stars of Orion. That's why he denied him 3 times. Because 3 stars of Orion, he had to deny him 3 times to acknowledge the hunter. The hunter was the 3 stars of Orion. He denied Yahushua for the 3 stars of Orion. That's why he denied him. He denied Yahushua for the worship of the sun, moon, and the stars. Remember, he had the sword in his hand, and he struck out the Hakan's ear. That was the sword of the hunter. A little leaven leavens the whole lump. He said, you get what he said? Then he began to call down curses. He started calling down curses. He started doing blessings and curses. Like Balaam. He started being like Balaam. And he swore to them. I don't know the man. He started denying him. He started worshiping the sun. He started following the children of Ham, like Balaam. You get what he said? I don't know the man. Immediately a rooster crowed. Now we ain't talking about some human, right, who slanders and gossips and crude joking and lying and full of greed and the spirit of deceit. This was not Yahushua. He was denied. Like when you have people on the earth and you deny them, they be like, I'm Yahushua Mashiach, so you deny me like Yahushua. Nah, you wicked just like these other people out here. Now we talking about Yahushua Mashiach. You do everything opposite of what Yahushua Mashiach taught. He said, I know you're a deceiver. Right? He says, I don't know the man. Immediately a rooster crowed. Then Qahalath remembered the word Yahushua had spoken. Before the rooster crows, before the sun rises, you will disown me 3 times. You worship Orion. And he went outside and wept bitterly. Why? Because you know why he did that? Why did Yahushua say that? It was a memorial. It came back to his memory. It was a remembrance. This is a day of remembrance. That we denied Yahuwah for other gods, for Orion. It's a day of remembrance. Remember, he brought us out of the land of Mizraim, out of Orion, out of the mighty hunter. Why do you think the hunter pursued us after we left Mizraim? He brought us out of Mizraim from the mighty hunter. It's a day of remembrance, a memorial. You got a zikaron in your mind. 6 days you eat unleavened bread. Seven days, no leaven should be found in your house. Why do you think leaven is in this house? And this is during the Pasach. He just took Pasach too. He already took it, and he done came out of Mizraim with Yahushua. He took it at night. But then guess what happened? He said no leaven should be found in your house. And guess what he had in his heart? He had leaven. He wept bitterly. He had leaven in his heart. He said no leaven should be found in your house from the first day to the seventh day. Right, remember, the unleavened bread hasn't even come in yet. And he just took Pasach, and now he realizes he has leaven in his heart, and he's crying. Because Pasach hasn't even come in yet, because Yahushua was killed between the suns on the 14th day. Pasach hasn't even come in yet. And Kaf is realizing he has leaven in his heart. That's why he wept bitterly, and he denied him for Orion. He denied him 3 times. He realizes now. So what does he got to do? Who's gonna get all that leaven out of him? Matthew 27 to 30. Then the soldiers and the governors took Yahushua to the governor's headquarters, and they gathered the whole battalion before him. And they stripped him and put on a scarlet robe on him, and twisting a crown of thorns on his head, and put it on his head, and put a reed in his right hand. Why? Something like the Adam. After he got what? He didn't beware the leaven of the scribes and the Pharisees. He didn't believe that. He wasn't beware of the leaven. And he got leaven in his heart, and he realized he was naked. That's why he stripped him of his robe and put on the scarlet robe. But he put on the scarlet robe to signifying what? Adam. And then he puts a crown of thorns on his head, signifying Adam and his punishment. What was the punishment for Adam? Thorns and thistles is going to yield you, and you're going to eat from the plants of the ground. But guess what man will not do? They won't eat from the plants of the ground. They eat animal flesh. They consume all the acquisitions of men. So therefore, he bearing your iniquity. It says they put it on his head and put a reed in his right hand, and kneeling before him, they mocked him. He said they're going to become in the last days mockers, men walking after their own love, scoffers. That's what Kaf said. He said, I'm bringing this back to you on remembrance, but remember the predictions of the Nabi'im. He put a reed in his right hand, kneeling before him, and they mocked him, saying, Hail, Malachah the Yahudim. And they spit on him, and they took a reed and struck him in the head. And when they had mocked him, they stripped him of his robe and put it on his own clothes and led him away to crucify him. Mark 15, 19 to 21. And they were striking his head with a reed and spitting on him and kneeling down in homage. And when they had mocked him, they stripped him of a purple cloak and put on his own clothes on him, and they led him away to crucify him. Why they did all that? They were worshiping their king. They scoffing at him. And they compelled the passerby, Cyrene, who was coming in from the country, the father Alexander Rufus, to carry his cross. He had to carry that burden. He's like, help the man, right? This is Matthew 27 to 43. The governor's headquarters, they gathered the whole battalion before him, and they stripped him and put on a scarlet robe, right? Going down verse 30 to 32. And they went out and found a man of Cyrene by name and compelled the man to carry his cross. And when they came to the place called Golgotha, which means place of skull, they offered him wine to drink, mixed with gall. But when he tasted it, he would not drink it. Why? It's poison. It's following Penuel. The teachings of Penuel. They're teaching the acquainted with roots and poison and the bitter and sweet. He ain't gonna drink it. And when you don't drink it all, he said, make sure you don't sin and slander. And when they had crucified him, they divided his garments among them, casting lots. And they sat down, keeping watch over him there. And over his head, they put the charge against him. This read, this is Yahushua, the Malachah the Yahudim. And the 2 robbers who were crucified with him, one on the right and one on the left, what do? He said, they both were crucified with him, one on the right and one on the left. And those who passed by derided him, wagging their heads and saying, you will destroy the temple in 3 days? In 3 days? Save yourself. How many days of darkness was in Mizraim? 3 days. He said, you're going to do it in 3 days and raise it back in 1? He said, yeah. If you are the son of Yahuwah, come down from the cross. So also the chief priests and the scribes and the elders mocked him, saying, he saved others, he cannot save himself. He's a Malach Yasharal, let him come down from the cross and we will believe in him. But he said, the star that fell down from Jupiter. Great is Diana, the star that fell down from Jupiter. Come down from the cross and we will believe you. They don't want to believe that he'd have been an Elohim. They want to believe in the sun, the moon, and the stars. Great is Diana. And little leaven leavened the whole lump. He said, let him come down from the cross and we will believe in him. That's what we believe. He trusts in Elohim. Let Elohim, Yahuwah, deliver him now if he desires him. For he said, I am the son of Yahuwah. You say you're the son of Yahuwah. Because you know what causes people to do all this stuff to the son of Yahuwah? Other gods. Other mighty ones. Idols. And the robbers who were crucified with them reviled him in the same way. They did the same thing. Matthew 27, 45 to 56. Now from the 6th hour there was darkness over the land until the 9th hour. Why gotta be darkness? Because that's the only time stars shine. And he was crucified in between two thieves. That's how eclipses come forward. When the moon is directly between the sun and the earth. He said until the 9th hour, that's 3 days. How you say? The 3 stars will Orion. He had to darken them. Why do you think he did it for 3 hours? And why do you think for six days he had to have no leaven in his house? From the 6th hour, there was darkness over the land to the 9th hour. Remember, he was crucified at the 3rd hour. That's 6 hours. He said, you shall eat no leaven. You have no leaven in your house for 7 days. And you shall eat unleavened bread. But you see, Ka found out he had some leaven and he just took Pasach. And the Pasach hasn't come in yet. And he still has leaven in his heart. So who's going to take away his leaven? Who's going to remove all that sin from him? Let's see. And about the 9th hour, he used to cry out with a loud voice, Aliyah, Aliyah, lama sabachthani, that is, my Elohim, why hast thou forsaken me? And some of the bystanders hearing it saying, this man is calling for Aliyah. He calling for Elijah, right? Because they worship the sun, moon, and stars. They're not even thinking for Yahuwah. They're thinking about another human being, a Malaki. They worship Malaki. A little leaven leavens the whole lump. They still got leaven in their heart. They think he calling for Eliyahu. He say confusion. They worship Nimrod. Because you know what Nimrod's name means? Confusion. Rebel. Babel means what? Confusion. They're confused. And one of them at once ran and took a sponge and filled it with sour wine and put it on a reed on it and gave him to drink. They put sour wine. That's the bitter and sweet. Penuel. But others said, wait, let's see whether Yahweh will come to save him. So Yahushua cried out again with a loud voice and yielded up the Ruach. He did it with a loud voice. Just like it was in Mizraim. It was darkness over the land. They cried out and the children died. The firstborn sons died. The animals died. When the people when they started sinning against animals and beasts and started consuming the acquisitions of men, they started teaching the things that are fallen, the people cried out to Yahuwah in those days when the people started dying. Why do you think Yahushua crying out right here? They all cried out when people started perishing. And why do you think Yahushua crying out and dying right here? The same way during the time of Noah. Why do you think he had thorns and thistles on his head? The same thing that happened during the time of Noah. He said, beware of the teachings, the leaven of the scribes and the Pharisees, and of Jupiter, and of Mars, and Venus, and Mercury, and of the Archean, and of the 7 stars, and Pleiades, and all these beings out here, and all these other gods, and demons, and Shadim, and all these things flying around, and Orion, and the Hunter, and the Ursa Major, Ursa Minor, the Bear constellation. He said, 51 says, and behold, the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. He said, I got to tear it down. They built temples to the stars. And the earth shook, and the rocks were split. Why? Because there's an eclipse, and there's an earthquake. All at the same time. And there is a sign in the sky. A shooting star But he said, how you going to get a shooting star, a falling star? How you going to get a shooting star falling to the earth? There's only one way you're going to get a shooting star, unless he come down from the cross. It says that the tomb also were open, and many of the dead the saints who had fallen asleep were raised. Like you see that on movies where they conjure spirits. They conjure the spirits of the dead. But they would say that, why would they do that? And coming out of the tombs in the resurrection, they went into the Qahalath city and appeared to many. And when the centurion and those who were with him, keeping watch over Yahushua, saw the earthquake and what took place, they were filled with awe and said, truly, this is the son of Yahuwah. Because they saw the signs and wonders of the Shamayim. Because he said the heathen are dismayed at the signs of the Shamayim. They dismayed, as the Jeremiah 10 says, at the sun, moon, and stars. They saw the earthquake and the eclipse and beings coming out of the earth. And they see all these powers shaking. They said, man, truly, this is the son of Yahuwah. It is Yahuwah, right? All right, this is the book of Yuchanaan 19:28. And after this, Yahushua, knowing that all was now finished, said, to fulfill the scripture, I thirst. A jar of sour wine stood there. So they put a sponge of sour wine in hyssop branch and held it to his mouth. And when Yahushua had received the sour wine, he said, it is finished. And he bowed his head and gave it the ruach. He said, it's done. He said, what do you mean sour wine? Remember, we ain't supposed to have no leaven in our houses for 7 days. We ain't supposed to have no leaven. We supposed to eat unleavened bread during Pasach. We supposed to have no leaven. They gave him sour wine. Sour wine, in this word, is oxos. G3690 means vinegar, sour wine. They gave him sour wine. What is sour wine? The chemical processing allowing wine to sour it into vinegar, affecting the leavening of flour and water, is known as fermentation. They put leaven in it. They gave the man leaven. They gave him a little leaven. Remember, he only drank a little bit of it. They gave him a little leaven, and it leavened the whole lump. He said, if any man eats leaven from the first day to the 7th day, he's going to be cut off. What just happened to him? He just got cut off. He just died. He just drank a little leaven, and he died. A little leaven leavened the whole lump. He was unleavened, and then he drank leaven, fermented wine, and he died because he got to get cut off. He said a little leaven leavened the whole lump, and he died for you, that you can be unleavened. Peter, cough, because you still were holding to Orion. That's why you denied him 3 times. 3 stars of Orion. And all the other people who were still worshiping other gods. And it says the fermentation of natural conversion, the process by which yeast and fungus found in natures. And people saying, why Kof did that? He said, when you are strengthened, remember he told him, he said, when you are strengthened, strengthen everybody else. Because you're going to need strength. Because he ain't had no strength. He said to acknowledge him before men. He couldn't do it. Before he couldn't do it. While Yahushua was there, he could do it. He's like, yeah, look at me. But when Yahushua is gone, he's like, you deny me before men, I'll deny you before my Father. In the highest Shamayim, Yahuwah. The term vinegar comes from the French vinaigre, sour wine. It's used to describe soured alcohol-based liquids, such as those made of cider, malt, or rice wine. Souring, a natural process that occurs when a liquid containing less than 18% alcohol is exposed to the air. And he said, man, they gave me leaven. But he said he died. This is Psalm 69, 19-24. You know my reproach, and my shame, and my dishonor, and my foes are all known to you. That's why you think Cain said, this punishment is more than I can bear. Remember he said that? He said, no, I'm going to put a mark on your compassion. And he said, guess what? If anybody kill you, they're going to be punished 7 times. 7. Because that was calm for him. It was great, calm for him. But guess what? Who had to die in order for him to get that calm? His brother. His innocent blood had to be shed in order for him to get that in his forehead. We are the bunch of Cains. Because we're not in the garden. We outside the garden. We are a bunch of Cains. Because our innocent brother got us great con outside the garden. He commanded it. He said, when I commanded Adam, Cain, and the children of Yasharal to leave, I never commanded them concerning animal sacrifice for sin. I never told them to eat no flesh. As a matter of fact, I didn't tell them to have no leaven in their body either. Because you don't read Adam ever sinning again after he left out of the garden. You do with Cain, though. But you don't see that with Adam. And it says, reproaches have broken my heart. I am in despair. I looked for pity, but there was none, and comforters, but I found none. They gave me poison for my food, and for my thirst, they gave me some poison. They gave me some Penuel. They gave me the teachings. He said, beware the leaven of the scribes and the Pharisees. Beware the leaven of the fallen. Beware of Panumaal and his teachings. They gave me the teachings of Panumaal, Penuel, and they gave me fermented leaven for my food. That's what these people done. He said, beware the leaven of the scribes and the Pharisees. He said, how is it, man? We talking about, we ain't got no bread. I'm talking about the way they teach. So what they teach will cause you to do this to me. Because if you do after their ways, you're gonna do this to me. He said, let their own table become a snare, and what they have he said, when they are at peace, shalom, let it be a trap. Let their eyes be darkened. Oh, you mean like the beginning? And that they cannot see, and make their loins tremble continually. People saying, why he destroyed the earth the first time? He said, pour out your indignation upon them, and let your burning anger overtake them. Make their camp a desolation. So if he's saying that, make their camp a desolation, that means the destroyer is not going to pass over them. It's not going to pass over them. They ain't going to get Pasach. The destroyer is not going to pass over them. He says it's not going to pass over them. Right, it's Bereshit 2:1. And thus the Shamaim of the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day, Yahuwah finished all his work. He said it is finished. And his work had been done, he Shabbat. That's why we say we cease from eating leavening. He Shabbat from all on the seventh day. From all his work that he had done. So Elohim barak the Shabbat day and made it Qahalath, because in it Yahuwah Elohim rested from all his work in done in creation. That's what he told us. He told us Shabbat from all what? From all leaven. Cease from it. All right, this Moose 5:4-10. For thus says Yahuwah, the house of Yasharal, seek me and live, but do not seek Bethel, and do not enter in Gilgal or cross over Beersheba, for Gilgal shall surely go into exile, and Bethel shall come to nothing. Seek Yahuwah and live, lest he break out in fire at the house of Yehusaf, and it devour with none to quench Bethel. O you who turn justice into wormwood, and cast down the righteousness to the earth. He said, if you be the son of Yahuwah, come down from totality. Get what it said. He who made the Pleiades, the Kima, and the Orion, the Kitsil, and turns deep darkness into morning. Why do you think he darkened it in the clear day? And darkens the day into night. Why do you think he did that on the totality? Who calls for the waters of the sea, and pours them out on the surface of the earth. Yahuwah is his name. Who makes destruction flash forth against the strong, so that destruction comes upon the fortress. They hate him who reproves in the gate, and abhor him who speaks the truth. Why do you think they hated Yahusha? He said, I made the Kitsil and the Plima. I bring forth the Pleiades. I bind the influences I Ma'adana, the Kima. I loose the cords of Orion. Right, let's do Devarim 4:15-20. Therefore, watch yourself very carefully. You got to watch yourself during the 7 days and also for the rest of your life. Since you saw no form in the day that Yahuwah spoke to you in Horeb out of the midst of the fire, beware lest you act corruptly by making carved images for yourselves in the form of a figure of likeness of male and female, the beginning, the likeness of animals on the earth, the beginning, the likeness of winged creatures in the fields, the earth, and the air, in the beginning, and any creeping there creeps on the ground. So who is he giving this commandment to? Adam and Qahalath. Zakar Nakubal, male and female. He's telling us right here. It's the same thing he told in the beginning. And he spake to them concerning no animal sacrifice for sin. Get what it says? The likeness of any fish that is under the water. Isn't that what people do today? It says, and beware lest you raise your eyes to Shamayim, and when you see the sun, the Shamash, the Yag, and the Kukabim, and all the hosts of the Shamayims, you be drawn away. That's what people do. They get drawn away to bow down to them. Why do you think they bow to Yahusha? I am Yahusha. And they bow down to him. And serve them. Why do you think they serve Yahusha? Even after they bowed down to him, they still served him, and they brought him all the way to the cross. Things that Yahuwah, your Elohim, has allotted to all people on the earth. But Yahuwah has taken you and brought you out of the iron furnace, out of Mizraim. I brought you out of Ham, the children of Khan. I brought you out of the worship of the sun, moon, and stars in Orion. I brought you out of the worship of the Kukabim, the Yark, and the Shemesh, and human beings, and men who call themselves, how you say, kings and rulers and princes who rule over you, and they put gods, and they call themselves that, and they rule over you, and they blaspheme me. He said, I brought you out of that, to a people of his own inheritance, as you are this day. This column, Dead Sea Scrolls, column 4Q 257, last couple of slides. It said, these are the paths in the world that enlighten the heart of man. Straighten out in front of him all the paths of true justice, establishing his heart respect for the precepts of Elohim, and the ruach of meekness and patience and generous compassion, eternal goodness, intelligence, understanding, and potent wisdom, who trust in all the deeds of Elohim and depend on his abundant mercy. That's what Cain did. The ruach of knowledge of all plans of action, enthusiasm, decrees, and justice, and set apart plans with a purpose and generous compassion, with all the sons of truth, of magnificent purity, which detests all unclean idols, of careful behavior and wisdom concerning everything, of concealment or concerning the truth, of the mysteries of the knowledge. These are the foundations of the ruach of the sons of truth, and to the reward of those who walk in it will be healing, plentiful shalom, long life, fruitful offspring, and everlasting barak, eternal enjoyment, endless life, and the crown of kabod and majestic raiment, eternal life. However, the ruach of deceit belongs, right, these are all the 11, because a little bit of these levels the whole lump and bring you to destruction. And he said, Yahuwah's wrath on you, and he's going to cut you off. You see how Yahusha, what happened to Yahusha when he ate a little leaven? And he was unleavened. He died. He says, the ruach of deceit belongs greed, sluggishness in the service of justice, wickedness, falsehood, pride, haughtiness of heart, dishonesty, trickery, cruelty, insecurity, impatience, much foolishness, impudent enthusiasm for appalling acts, performing the lustful passion, filthy past in the service of impurity, blasphemous tongue, blindness of eyes, hardness of hearing, stiffness of neck, hardness of heart, in order to walk in the paths of darkness and evil cunning. Or he said like the bear constellation, an evil eye, a dark eye constellation, stars, worshiping of the sun, moon, and stars. So these are all the things that happen to people who exchange the image of Yahuwah for mortal man. And the visitation of those who walk in it will be abundance of afflictions and a malachia of destruction, Mizraim, or eternal damnation and scorching wrath of Elohim revenges, of permanent terror and shame without end and humiliation and destruction. The malachia of destruction, Mustama, and all his powers on your body. By fire of the dark regions, and of all the ages of the generations, they shall spend in bitter weeping. Why do you think Peter wept after he denied him 3 times? Those are 3 stars of Orion. People say, why he had to do 3 days of darkness? Because he denied him. It's like all the children of Yasharal denied him. And all the people of the earth, from Shem, Ham, and Yafah, some of Yashem and Yafat and Ham, they all denied him. Everybody denied him. So therefore, I got to darken in 3 days. Shem, Ham, and Yafet. Matter of fact, I got darkened it for 6 to the 9th hour too. And then Peter found out, man, I got 11 in my heart. It says, and all the ages of their generations, and they shall spend in bitter weeping and harsh evils in the abyss of darkness. Why do you think after he Peter wept, it was darkness over the whole land from the 6th and 9th hour. Until destruction, until Yahushua died. Without there being a remnant or survivor for them. No more leaven. There's going to be no more leaven after that. Was none. This Revelations 2 and 2 to the Malachi of the Achad of Ephesus. Because we just talked about Ephesus. What gods did they serve in Ephesus? Greatest Diana and Artemis, right? They worship other gods. Let's see what Yahushua said to them. This is what he wrote to Ephesus. He ain't sent this to no Yahudim congregation. He ain't sent this to, he said, this is a Yahudim congregation who converted. They still were worshiping the 7 stars, Artemis. The words of him who holds the 7 stars in his right hand. We just saw that hand. He said, I hold the 7 stars in my right hand, not these other beings. He said, that's me. That's my hand. I hold that in my hand. That's Yahushua's hand. Like we saw that hand out there and it had the stars in it. That's his hand. Because these people worship the sun, moon, and stars, the Pleiadian star system. That's his hand, who walks among the 7 golden lampstands. I know your works, your toil with your patience and endurance, and how you cannot bear them which are evil, but have tested those who call themselves Shalakim and are not, and found them to be false, man. Can you see it now? But I know you are enduring patiently and bearing up for my name's sake, and you have not grown weary, but I have this against you, that you abandoned the love you had at first, from the beginning. He said, you abandoned the love you had at the first. And remember, therefore, where you have fallen, repent, and do your first works that you did at first. If not, I will come to you and remove your lampstands from his place unless you repent. Because they worship the sun, moon, and the stars. This is Revelation 1, 17 through 20. When I saw him, I fell on my feet as dead. But he laid his right hand on me and saying, fear not, for I am the first and the last, the living one. And I died, and behold, I am alive again, and have the keys of death and Hades. Write therefore the things that you have seen, those that are and those that are to take place after this. For as for the mystery of the 7 stars you saw in my right hand, and the 7 golden lampstands, the 7 stars are the Malachim of the 7 congregations, the Achad, and the 7 lampstands are the 7 Achad. He said, I hold these people in Ephesus, and these people who worship the Pleiades, the 7 stars. He said, I hold these people in my hand. They're like those people who worship those beings in their hand. I hold these 7 congregations in my hand, and they're just like the 7 stars you see in the cosmos that are in Ephesus, because that's who they worship. They worship the Pleiades. He said, who can bind a sweet Madonna Kima? Yahushua said, I do that. But he said, I have this against you. You began your love, you had the first day of creation. Because the first day of creation, it wasn't nobody worshiped the sun, moon, and stars. They only worshiped one. There was only one person in charge. But then when the falling came, then everybody started worshiping other beings. This 1 Timothy 4 and 4. Right? It says, now the Ruach speaketh expressly in the latter times. Some will depart from Amunah, devoting themselves to deceitful spirits and teachers of demons. Like we just went over all the teachers of demons. But discern within yourself what is being said. Through the insecurity of liars, because we talked about much insecurity, that was the spirit of deceit in the Dead Sea Scrolls, whose conscience are seared, who forbid marriage. Did Yahuwah not marry Adam to Kuah and join himself to her? He did. That was in the beginning. And require abstinence from foods that Yahuwah created to be received with thanksgiving. What foods did Yahuwah create be received with thanksgiving? By those who believe and know the truth. What food did Yahuwah create for man in the beginning who were married, who he joined to marriage, and they believe and know the truth? What was the truth in the garden? For everything created by Yahuwah is good. What did he say was Meo Ta'u? What was good? What was very good in the beginning? What did he say? And nothing be refused. Nothing is to be rejected if received with thanksgiving. What did he create for those who believe and know the truth? And it was good. Adam and Kuah. So why would a deceitful spirit and demon teach you to abstain from marriage? So you will fornicate? So you will go off with another goddess and worship the goddess of fertility? And then what happens after that? Men with men, women with women? Why would the spirit tell you to abstain from foods? I say, and other translations from meats. Why would the demon tell you to abstain from the meat that Yahuwah made in the beginning? So you could put sicknesses in your body? Because Yahuwah gave what they call meat, was a call or Achad, was plants and the fruits of the earth. It was plants. The fallen teachings and the evil spirits that became demons, they're the ones who ate the acquisitions of men and animals and ate the acquisitions of sin against beasts and reptiles and fish and all these things. They're the ones who ate the behemoths. They're the ones who started consuming animal flesh and eating flesh with the blood. A demon's going to tell me to abstain from that. No, a demon's going to tell you to abstain from eating plants. I ain't got to eat that. They're going to tell you to abstain from doing that. From what Yahuwah said in the beginning to Cain, when he said, I ain't tell you to eat no animal flesh. Matter of fact, I didn't tell you to do it. I didn't tell Adam to do it either when I cast him out. He was out in the garden working in the field. Matter of fact, I didn't even tell the children of Yahshua when I brought you out, I never spoke to you concerning animal sacrifices for sin and eating flesh. I never did that. But when you write it to a bunch of people in Ephesus, you got people lukewarm and cold. That's why he said, I find some lukewarm and cold. Because everybody wasn't doing it. Which means if you still doing it, that means you're lukewarm. You're not hot. You're not like how it was in the beginning with Adam and Qahalath, which means that you hot and you're lukewarm. And you either cold or hot. Either you all the way cold or you all the way hot. Where the sun is day starting and the day star arises and you bearing fruit. But it's the book of Deuteronomy, right? The same thing what we talked about before. The only reason I wrote it again, just want to reiterate, getting the leaven out of our house. It's the first month, your body's a temple. And for your body, being that your body's the temple, you need to get the leaven out of your house. Even a little leaven into your whole temple, your whole Qahalath vessel, your whole body. And this is the first month, so that's what we should do, right? So this is 1 Corinthians 11:1. It says, I wish that you would bear with me in my little foolishness. Do bear with me. For I have divine jealousy for you. I betroth you to one husband. That's what Adam had. He only had to present you a pure virgin to Yahushua Mashiach. That's what Yahuwah did for Adam. He presented Qahalath to Adam. And she was a pure virgin. And she didn't have none of that. And they weren't eating no flesh. They weren't eating no animal flesh. They were eating fruits of the earth. But I'm afraid, as the servant deceived Qahalath by his cunning, the little leaven leavened the whole lump. He said, beware the teaching of the scribes and the Pharisees, and of the other priests and the other stars and other influences of the Kima Kitsil and other influences of Aish and the Bear constellation, Ursa Major, Ursa Minor, and all these in the hand, and like I said, the 5 fingers, and the amulets of the goddesses of Mary, the hand of Mary, and all these beings of Ishtar, and all these other gods. That your thoughts will be led astray. They're going to get you in your mind. From sincere, pure devotion to Mashiach, which that's it. That's all you should know. He's like, why? Because it's the purity of mind. So he scanned us. Aleph Yuchanan 5:20. And we know that the Son of Yahuwah has come and has given us an understanding, so that we know him who is true. And we are in him who is true. In his Son, Yahushua Mashiach. He is the true Elohim, the eternal life. Little children, what did he say? Keep yourselves from idols. Keep yourselves from idols. Proverbs, that's what we're supposed to do. He said, little children, in the garden, hey, little leaven the whole lump. Keep yourselves from idols. Proverbs 16:31, gray hair is a crown of kabod, and gain through a righteous life. Whoever is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he who rules his ruach, and he that taketh a city. The lot is cast in the lap, but every decision is from Yahuwah. Why do you think they cast lots for Yahushua garment? But all that is important. Wisdom of Solomon 4:8-9. For honorable age standeth not in length of time, nor in measured number of years. But wisdom is the gray hair unto men. And an unspotted life is old age. You be ancient, just like your father. Sirach 6:18-19. My son, gather instruction from thy youth, and thou shalt find wisdom in thine old age. Come unto her as one that ploweth and soweth, and wait for her good fruits. For thou shalt not toil much in laboring about her, but thou shalt eat its fruits right soon. It's almost that time. Wisdom of Solomon 8:1-16. Now, when I considered these things in myself, I pondered with them in my heart how to be allied with wisdom is immortality, and great pleasure to have her friendship. And the works of her hands are riches, infinite riches, and exercise confidence with her prudence. And in talking with her, a good report. I went about seeking how to take her to myself, right? And all these things that we talk about all the time, if you have a little leaven in your body, this is what's going to happen, right? Therefore, demons, as we have said, as once they are able, by means of opportunities afforded them to convey themselves through base and evil actions in the bodies of men, women, and children. That's a little leaven. If they remain in them a long time through their own negligence, a little leaven, because they do not seek after what is profitable for their inner being, they necessarily compel them in the future to fulfill the desires of the demons that dwell in them. A little leaven, let them to hold on. But what is worst of all, at the end of the age, when the demon is co-signing ageless fire, for necessity the ruach that obey him will be tortured in ageless fires, together with the body it has polluted. It's going to take you there. Right? So this is Proverbs 3:1-8. My son and daughter, do not forget my teachings, but let your heart keep my commandments. For length of days and long life and peace will be added to you. Shalom. Let not steadfast love forsake you. Steadfast love and faithfulness forsake you. Bind them around your neck and write them on the tablets of your heart. So you will find favor and good success in the sight of Yahuwah and man. Trust in Yahuwah with all your heart, and do not lean to your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. Be not wise in your own eyes, because Yahuwah make the wisdom of the world foolishness, just like he getting ready to do now. Fear Yahuwah and turn away from evil. So you got to fear Yahuwah and turn away from evil. It will be healing to your shar, and refreshment to your bones. Right? We know that the shar is your umbilical cord. Right? But you see, fear, all these things, these are low frequency, but when you say get to the top, you got the higher frequency. You got unconditional love and peace and joy and gratitude and kindness, enthusiasm, hope, confidence, right? And notice it all coils up. Why? Because he said it'll be healing to your shore, healing to your cord, your umbilical cord. Your umbilical cord is your twisted string. It'll bring you to peace. It'll bring you to a higher frequency, a higher vibration, higher thoughts. Your navel cord, because he's your father. It's going to heal your navel cord. It's going to heal your navel string. It's going to bring you to a higher consciousness. A little leaven left the whole life. He said, it'll be healing to your shore. Refreshment to your bones. Adam and Kuah, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. She shall be called Isha. Right, the book of Essin, book of Yahusha, sevenfold of peace. Barak is a child of light, who is wise in mind, for he shall create the Shamayim, the mind of the wise, a well-plowed field, which giveth forth abundance and plenty. For if thou showest a handful of seeds to a wise man or woman, he will see in his mind, a field of golden wheat. If thou showest a handful of seeds to a fool, he will see only that which is before him, and call them worthless pebbles. As the field of the golden, he says worthless pebbles. As the field of the wise man giveth forth grain in abundance, and field of the fool harvest of stones, so it is with our thoughts. As the sheaf of the golden wheat lies hidden within our crowning kernel, so is the Malkuth of Shamayim hidden within our thoughts. Your pure devotion. If they be filled with the power and love of Kukma, so shall they carry us. It says, filled with the power and love of the wisdom of the Malakim of Shamayim Father, so shall they carry us to the Shamayim seed. But if they be stained with corruption and hatred and ignorance, they shall chain our feet with pillars and pain and suffering. No man can serve two masters. Neither can an evil thought abide in the mind filled with the light of the Torah. He who hath found Shalom with his mind have learned to soar beyond the realm of the Malakim. Know this Shalom with thy heart. Fulfill this peace, this Shalom with thy body. Because that's the whole point. You got to fulfill it with your body, right? You got to fulfill it. The little leaven left the whole lump. Aleph Yochanan 1:24 through 27. Let what you heard from the beginning abide in you. And what you heard from the beginning abides in you. We say that many times. There's a reason. Then you too will abide in the Ben and in the Father and the Son. That's all you need. And this is the promise he had made to us, eternal life. I write these things about those who are trying to deceive you. There's so many things out here. Beware the leaven of the scribes and the Pharisees. Beware of the leaven of the sun, moon, and stars, and the kukah. Beware of the leaven of the gods and the goddesses. Beware of the leaven who's trying to deceive you. But the anointing you received in him abides in you, and you have no need that anyone should teach you. You have nobody to say nothing to you. But as the anointing teaches you about everything, and it's true, and it's no lie, just as it's taught you, abide in him. Beware of the leaven of the cosmos. It ain't just the human people on earth, the teachers in the Torah. It ain't just those people that trust them. You can't trust anybody. But because it says all of them, all throughout the cosmos. Just like Adam and Qahalath, they were the seeds in the garden. Beware. Right? Beware, right? But this is the last slide, ODE, Shalom 35, 1-7. The sprinkling of Yahuwah overshadowed me. In his serenity, it caused a cloud of Shalom to stand over my head. He said it caused a cloud to stand over my head, above me. Just like rain and snow, so shall the bar be that goes out of his mouth. That it might guard me at all times and become my salvation to me. He's like, man, what are you talking about? He said, Yahushua said, if the Son of Man to be lifted up, I'm going to draw all people to me. That's why he said, I'm going to draw all people to me. He said, I'm the cloud that's over you. Everyone was disturbed and afraid, and they flowed from them smoke and judgment. But I was tranquil in Yahuwah's legion. I'm riding on the wings of the wind. More than the shade was he to me. How they got the eclipse. And they're going to have the shadow on the earth. He said, it's going to be more than that. He said, man, it's way more than that. It's way more than that for me. And more than foundation. He says, and I was carried like a child by its mother, and he gave me milk, the dew of Yahuwah. And I grew strong in his favor and rested in his perfection. What? Unleavened. What's Yahuwah's perfection during this time? Being unleavened. Because you know, a little leaven leaveneth the whole lump. What happened to Yahushua when they gave him leaven? He was unleavened. He died. He was cut off from his people for you. That you may be brought back, grafted back in. That you may be brought in. It says, I extended my hands in the ascent of myself, and I directed myself near the Most High Yahuwah, and I was saved near him. He said, I was saved near him. Right? So you look at all the transactions that have taken place in the earth through knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, and the things that people have said over the years. But even as Yahuwah sent his Ben Yahusha for us to call upon his name in the time of trouble, that he would deliver us. He said also to those who don't believe in him, he said, call on them and see if they come deliver you. For even as we look at the world today, and we look at ourselves, we take inventory of our own life. We look within our own selves, and we find out within our own self, do we have any other Elohims before him? And if so, even as Chag did, he wept because he realized his sincere heart was torn. But even as Peter wrote, and we just read, he said they're going to come in the last day, scoffers walking after their own lusts. And he talked about how he's going to come back with fire to destroy. He sent a molecule of destruction to destroy. But even with that, he was stirring up our minds by way of reminder. Because this is a memorial to remember that he brought us out of the land of Mizraim, out of the house of Ham, of Nimrod, of the Chaldees, of the people of Ham, of Mizraim, of the people of Canaan, and those who follow the teachings of Shemjaza and Azazel, and all of the fallen who taught all these teachings that caused man to worship them in the host of the Shemaims. And even all those who call upon the gods of the earth, all the gods in the Shemaim, one has a chance to say, I will no longer serve these gods, and I'll now return to the one in the higher Shemaim, and return and be immersed in Yahushua Mashiach for the remission of the sins of worshiping the other gods and the practices, and to be renewed in the Ruach of your mind. For the meek shall inherit the earth. The meek shall inherit the earth.